He's a life member here at the WA Sporting Car Club, and he's having a run around out there in a Duratec Formula Ford. Then we have Lance Carwadine in the Brabham, and Craig Thompson in car number 182. Bruce Mitchell in car number 48, Brian Searles in car number 83, David Dearden in the Formula Ford, and Glenn Swarbrick rounds out our field in the 1982 model Macon Formula Ford.
And you highlighted the point there too, Vaughan. I mean, from the Rolt RT4 to the Radicals, to the Formula Fords of the field, such a vast discrepancy in car and therefore pace as well. So the leaders will probably have to contend with a little bit of lap traffic towards the back end of this one.
Yeah, certainly, mate. The FSRs are not far off the back of that Bill Norman Rolt RT4. In qualifying, there was very little between them. So that's going to be a good race to have a look at right at the front of the field. So they're coming down behind the safety car now. We should get a go this time. Safety car pulling in. And we wait for the green light to show, and it's up to Bill Norman and Stuart Burns in car number 31 off the front row.
In the starter's hands. And look at the onboard shot as well from Stuart Burns as we get the green flag and hit the gas and get going. Beautiful start there, conversion off the line from Norman to lead on the run to turn one. It'll be interesting to see which of the two Burns prevails coming out of turn two. No, it is from the outside. So that's the 31 going through Stuart Burns, maintaining second position. It's always interesting to start here at carco.com.au Raceway, isn't it? Sometimes you can make it work around the outside, but occasionally you'll get muscled out by the guy that's starting inside of the second row and have to slot in behind. No such issue for Burns on that occasion, holding Derek at bay.
How's these onboard shots as they come through the apex out of turn number 6 and up and over the top of the hill. Stuart Burns trying to do something about Bill Norman, and they seem to be like for like as far as the speed goes, but it looks like our camera may have just folded backwards. That shows you how fast Stuart Burns is going.
A bit more gaffer tape required for that one, I think, for the next one.
Derek Burns holding third position at the moment. Then Lance Carwadine now moved up into P4. John Herney in 5. Then Craig Thompson in 182. Bruce Mitchell. No, sorry, that was Brian Searles in car 83. And then a good little battle between the two Formula Fords. And unfortunately, that looks like the car of Mitchell, the 2-litre Formula Ford with wings and slicks. That one's coming to a rest.
That's unfortunate.
But they're still racing right up the front here. Norman still got the lead over Burns, the Burns boys. Looks like Stuart's going to be the one mounting the forward attack on that fantastic 1982 Rolt of Bill Norman. Bill driving his absolute heart out to try and keep ahead of the Radical, with Burns all over the back of him. Coming down into turn one now. Burns has really shut the gap down a lot. Norman had a massive gap going down the hill, but now Stuart really seems to have closed up on there.
Well, these Radicals will take a couple of laps to get the tyre temperature right before they can really start to get into it. But Stuart doing a good job, not too far off the back of the Rolt RT4 of Bill Norman as they're down into turn number 6. In third place, it's Derek Burns, the father of Stuart, in car number 23, doing a good job in third at the moment. While Bill Norman gets the Rolt RT4 very squirrely on the way out of turn number 6, up and over the top of the hill and down towards turn number 7 to reel off another lap here at carco.com.au Raceway. And Stuart Burns under brakes. He is gaining ground on Bill Norman.
It's impressive to watch, isn't it,
car
boys?
lengths in between the Rolt and the Radical.
Sorry, Zach, you're in there?
No, you guys are right. I was going to say it's interesting watching these two cars so vastly different in terms of their make, their look, their shape, their size, but so even on speed. So if you've ever wanted to watch a side-by-side speed comparison, this is the place to come at the moment. Norman v Burns. Burns actually now with the fastest lap of the race as well, 59.0602. and the margin has come down, as you said, to Zane, to half a second, and it was only 0.03 separating them pole v second in the qualifying session, so evenly matched. But it's going to be the strengths and weaknesses comparative to the circuit, as Vaughan already highlighted. Burns under brakes particularly good. That could well be the difference here. And now he's on the attack on the inside, using that advantage under brakes, having a look, and then the door firmly closed, if you don't mind. Have a look at that. Now the up and under down the main straight. So now Norman's under pressure, but this time allows some racing room, and Burns will dive down on the inside on the run to turn one. But again, Norman around the outside, too good under speed, on speed, I should say, around the outside, holding that speed, holding that line, and maintaining the lead once more.
Well, the closer that Stuart Burns gets to the tail of Bill Norman, he's going to take the aero off the front of his white FSR, and you can see that he started to slip back a bit. He got right up under the wing, got all of that disturbed air on the front of the FSR, and we're picking up now on Derek Burns as they come through turn number 6, and there's this sideways angle again, looking over the head of Stuart Burns as they exit turn number 6 and up and over the top of the hill. The big charge is on from Stuart Burns. He's all over the back of Bill Norman again, moves over to driver's left, looks right again. It's not going to work. There's a car there of Bruce Mitchell in car number 48, and unfortunately he's retired and gone to the pit area, but this battle is still happening between car number 8 and 31, and Stuart Burns looking very menacing here. We've got 3.5 minutes remaining.
Plus 1 lap, so that's probably going to be 5 laps in the grand scheme of things. So it's time, then a lap, so they'll probably be on that 4th lap when time expires, then the last lap. So there's still a lot of time here for Burns, young Zane, to find his way past Norman. And as Vaughan said, the pressure's mounting, and eventually, I think once Burns gets close enough and eventually finds a way by, it's going to be hard if Norman continues to drive middle of the racetrack. That's his chosen line of choice at the moment in terms of mounting a defence. But if he finds a way by to Burns, Stuart will take off, I think.
Yep, coming down the hill now, it's still Bill Norman in the lead with only less than a tenth probably over Stuart Burns is Radical. Yeah, now they have to deal with the lap traffic. They've got to thread their way through this. It's going to be quite interesting here. We've just got 2.5 minutes to go, but it's on for young and old here at the front. It's the 1982 Rolt versus the modern day Radical RSR. And both of those cars being balked there by the 82 Macon of Glenn Swarbrick. They both drive right around the outside in turn number 4. So down to 2 minutes remaining. We should probably get another at least 3 laps here as we pick up on the Macon in the 1982 edition Formula Ford, and Derek Burns hunting him down as well. Up and over the top of the hill, car number 83 of Brian Searles, a beautifully presented car that is very reliable as our leaders now. They've gone past David Dearden in car number 52, and it's still car number 3 of Bill Norman from 31 of Stuart Burns as they exit out onto the main straight here at Carco Raceway. Still 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining, so we'll probably get another 2 laps here, Zach.
Well, 2 and then the one for the time marker plus 1 lap. So it could well be 3, boys. So the more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned. The more racing, the better. And I'm sure the viewers at home feel the same way, and their trackside as well, because this is sensational stuff. But Vaughan, I'm only picking up what I'm seeing on the monitor, of course. You've got a view out the window as well as what we're seeing on television. It just feels as though that little bit of lap traffic that they've had to deal with and navigate their way around has marginally helped Norman, but Burns still has time to overturn that deficit and maybe have a crack at taking the race lead here.
Well, there's only 1 car length difference now as they crest the top of the hill. It's Stuart Burns all over the back of Bill Norman by 1 car length as they hit the brakes very, very hard. Bill Norman taking a very shallow line into turn number 7, and Stuart Burns just takes the traditional line. He keeps up the revs and tries to go down the inside into turn number 1. It's not going to work with Bill Norman driving very defensively, and he's quite entitled to. He is in front. He can drive wherever he wants on this 2.41 kilometre Carco Raceway. As they head into turn number 4, we're down to 20 seconds. 2 laps remaining, Zane.
Bill, you could see him just looking in his mirrors, just wanting to know where Stewart is the entire time. Where is he? Is he the left or is he the right? They've got to be as defensive as possible coming down the hill. Now look at one of the Formula Fords there. That's...
That'll be the John Hurney car, the car 50 that we've got down as Watkins, but I believe it's actually John Hurney.
The Stealth now.
Oh, he's been bought by the traffic this time, unfortunately, has Stuart Burns. He's lost 30, 40 metres on Bill Norman this time as last lap board on display as they cross the stripe for the last time. It's Bill Norman out to about a 2.5 second lead now on Stuart Burns. Then we go back a long way, and that's Dad Derrick coming down into turn number 7 at the moment. He is in 3rd position. Behind him will be Lance Carwadine in car number 18. And a great battle here with John Hurney and Lance Carwadine as Hurney runs wide. Carwadine looking for the run up the inside in the Jane Brabham as car number 18 side by side with John Hurney down into turn number 1. And what can Hurney do? No, he's lifted out of that and allowed car 18 of Lance Carwadine to drive straight underneath that Duratec powered Formula Ford.
So out of turn 6 for the final time, boys, and up and over the hill. Norman's going to convert pole into race victory here, ably assisted by some lap traffic. Watch this margin shrink as Burns crosses the line, boys. It was 0.8. It came back to just under 0.2 of a second, ballooned out to 1.3. It'll be less than a second as they cross the line. Norman does enough to get the job done. The margin shaved in half, 0.62 the eventual margin. 59.95, played 59.2 on that final lap. Burns only needed another lap or two and he would have been right there. Third's going to go to the second of the Burns entries in car number 23. And as we said there, the 50 car showing as Watkins will be a long way back in 4th place. But if Norman and Burns produce that sort of entertainment for the afternoon, we won't be disappointed. That was tantalising, scintillating, compelling viewing for the entirety of what ended up being an 11-lap race for them.
And Zach, you've got to remember, these cars are museum pieces, so they are not hanging around. They're doing sub 60-second laps here for 2.41 kilometres. Best time goes to Bill Norman, a 59.1. That's not hanging around in something that's 40, 50 years old.
No, not at all. And the care and maintenance required for these cars as they age, yes, they still go fast and they still impress the trackside audience and those of us that get to call them as well in central commentary. But they are, as you say, museum pieces and like the HQs of the world and the Toranas of the world and anything that's a vintage, Group N, historic touring cars, all that sort of stuff, a bit more TLC required than just your average race car because apart from being prone and susceptible to braking occasionally, you've got to be mindful as well. Spare parts aren't as easy to lean upon as they once were, but that was an impressive performance from Norman.
It was, mate.
And just
I'm going to get going because
point,
they're all starting to grid up down here in front of us at the moment. So we'll take a short break and I'll be back very, very shortly.
Oh, there they are.
Carco Servicing has the best technicians in Midland. Servicing your car is simple and convenient with Carco. Book your car in now at carco.com.au. Crushing Services Australia services and maintains mining equipment as well as offering plant and equipment for hire. Find out more at www.crushingservicesaustralia.com. You can lunch a lot, or a double tender burger, chips, potato and gravy, plus a drink. Get more bang for your buck every day at KFC. Not available on delivery.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to carco.com.au Raceway, whether you're here at the venue or watching our live stream from anywhere around this big planet of ours. Of course, joining me in commentary for this afternoon session over here in Perth, standing alongside of me, is Zane Murcher, and over there in the Hunter Valley is Zach Caban. Good afternoon, fellas. We're ready for a big one this afternoon.
Definitely. We've seen a hell of a lot of racing this morning and can't wait for the afternoon. Just bring it on right now, I say.
Indeed, and a very good afternoon to you guys as well. Like the audience at home that are tuning in via the live stream, I feel like I'm very much doing the same thing. The joys of technology, as I said to you guys when I joined you a couple of hours ago. And Zane's right. We've only seen a handful of races thus far, I think 4 of 12 that are scheduled for today. And if that sets the standard for what we're in for this afternoon, we're in for a treat. Don't go away. Don't touch the dial. I know there's a lot of other motorsport happening around the world and specifically within Australia this weekend. But this carco.com.au Raceway show will be well worth the price of admission right throughout the course of this afternoon. And the good thing is we get to come back and do it again tomorrow as well. What was your takeaway from the morning session, Vaughan?
Well, we've seen some fantastic racing, some wheel-to-wheel, a little bit of rubbing, but rubbing's racing. And, I'm looking forward to a big afternoon here this afternoon at carco.com.au Raceway. Of course, brought to us this weekend by Gallagher. And great weather over here, Zach. I know you're over there in the Hunter Valley, big bit of rain and hail, and you had everything go through yesterday. But over here in Perth, we're sitting on around about 24 degrees. We've got light winds and a light cloud cover. So who knows? Could we see a lap record go later on this afternoon? You'll have to stick around and find out.
Exactly right. And it's interesting that you mentioned the weather over here. 4 seasons in one day. Dawned beautifully this morning outside. I ducked my head outside during the lunch break to heat up some lunch and grab a drink and whatever. And next minute I can hear raindrops on the roof. So the rain returned. It was a light spurt of a shower and then it's since disappeared. But it just means that the washing on the line is going to be wet for another day. But that's another story. I want to go back to something that Zane mentioned earlier on. We were talking about the FSR battle that was the last race of the morning session, of course, and we saw that tantalising battle between Norman and Burns. And Zane was talking about Norman holding his line and getting on the defensive. And one thing that you'll notice as the afternoon goes on is he's well within his rights to hold his line. Race control will only take an issue and take a look at it if he starts swaying from left to right, getting too defensive. But no, that was very well played by both he and Burns earlier. Lap traffic proved to be the defining point. And as far as the XLs are concerned, Zane will quickly learn, as you and I both know, Vaughan, having seen a fair bit of the caper both sides of the pond, that is standard procedure for them. They get the elbows out, the whips are cracking from the outset, although that was a first for me. I've never seen them go 4 wide at Carco. It doesn't strike me as the widest piece of real estate in the world to be trying that caper. It is a very narrow racetrack, but it's a good little bull ring for those cars. I don't think 5 wide would end so cleanly, but it'll be interesting to see what they can do a little bit later on. It's a shame that race didn't get back underway after the safety car was deployed this morning.
Of course, our feature event this afternoon is the Morton Plate Cup, and the Morton Plate, and of course the BM Graphics plate as well. They're for our Formula Vs, our 1600s and our 1200cc categories. We've already seen a interrupted race this morning with one of the competitors taking a long time to get back into the pit area there. And I think we ended up with about 3 minutes or under 3 minutes of actual racing. And it was a fairly disappointing way to start the day. But Zane, what are your thoughts on so far of what you've seen? This is your first caper in commentary. How did you go this morning?
The first caper in commentary, and what a place to make a debut, I guess. Wanneroo, I've been coming here since I was about 10 or 11 years old. I've absolutely loved the joint. It's a fantastic little bull ring of a circuit, been around since the 60s. With today's racing, I have to say the historic touring cars were absolutely brilliant with the big 5-litre V8s at the front and all the minis and the Cortinas trying to catch them in the corners. They're fantastic as well. The Formula V, very good racing. We just unfortunately got nobbled by a safety car in that race, the same with the XLs. But hopefully this afternoon we can just have some clean racing and have exciting racing. Yep.
And as Zach said, we had the free formula just before our lunch break, and they put on a great race with Stuart Burns trying to mow down William Norman in a Rolt RT4. So the old versus the new, and the old hung on for a win by, I think it was around about a second at the end, or under a second. It was very, very close. So I know, Zach, you're right up with the XLs, what's happening over there on the East Coast, and still have fond memories of this time 51 weeks ago, wasn't it? That we were here for the Australian national title, and wow, wasn't there some sensational XL racing in that whole weekend?
And it just goes to prove as well that even though it was a predominantly state field, there were 3 drivers that made the trek, like yours truly, across the Nullarbor to be there. And I must say, as a visitor, I've only ever been there in a work capacity, with the exception of one 24-hour in-out flight to go and watch a big bash game at the new Optus Stadium when it first opened. It set the standard for me. I want to come back and see a bit more of Perth as a tourist a little bit later on. But that was a fabulous weekend, because the state boys, knowing full well that there were Ethan Grigg Galt, Zane Rinaldi, Louis Bahaja representing the interstate contingent, they brought their best to the table. They produced top shelf racing. They all sensed the importance of the step up between what was normally a state event to a national level competition instance, and they brought the action, and they did so from first until last. Yeah, sure, we had one race that was lost to a red flag and a rollover down there at turn 7, but the rest of the weekend, it was compelling viewing. Hard to believe that the conditions there this weekend are almost identical to what they were last time out, last October. That's just Perth at this time of the year, I'm reliably informed.
Well, mate, it never rains here in Perth.
Apparently never, not. No, I certainly haven't seen it.
Don't know where you've been. No, you've heard rumours.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not like Victoria or Queensland, where you can often get 4 seasons in one day. There on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, too, by the way, but thanks to Gallagher, is the itinerary for the afternoon ahead. We've already ticked off 4 races off the program and the qualifying sessions before that, and we've got an 8-race program coming up for you this afternoon, starting with my second favourite, I'm going to say, because they were the original favourite before the XLs took over, and that is Formula V, because Vaughan, and we're going to see it very shortly, and they produced similar content this time last year, equally as close, tight-knit sort of action, and battle packs that can be 3 and 4 at the same time for that outright top spot as they make their way out onto the circuit now.
Yeah, I mean, they might not be the fastest of the vehicles that we have over here in the West, but gee, some of the racing that these ladies and gentlemen put on, our Formula Vs, we normally have up to 5 ladies racing, but unfortunately we've only got 2 out there this weekend, with Maddie and Kathy Lisson out there. So unfortunately the ladies not having a good run, with April Welsh missing this weekend in car number 33. Of course, her father Bruce in car number 30, he's pulled the plug and he's retired now after 30 consecutive years of Formula V racing here in Western Australia and over there on the East Coast as well. What an achievement that was. So our weather conditions at the moment, 23.7 degrees, 62% humidity, and a whole 3 km/h wind. So there you go, Zach. We'll just rub that in for you.
Oh, it's not. Don't worry, it's nice and warm and dry here in the central commentary in the Hunter Valley. Thankfully, I'm not exposed to the elements out here. I certainly was a couple of weeks ago when I was up on the mid-north coast doing some karting commentary. You mentioned April Welsh there a few moments ago. She's just slid into the inbox and asked the question, is that your voice I'm hearing? It is. Good afternoon, April. Nice to have you on board. So she's obviously there in the vicinity paying attention. And I was a little bit disappointed, I must say, April, that when I looked at the entry list, your name wasn't on there. But we'll see her back. She's a stalwart of Formula V and flies the girl flag very, very well. She'll be back on the grid at some point next season, I'm sure.
She certainly will, as our drivers are now coming up and over the top of the hill, ready to form up for race number 2 for the Morton Plate and the BM Graphics Plate here at Carco Raceway. And it was Paul Moltoni, car number 6. He will be on pole position from young Mason Legg in a new car debuting this weekend in car number 85, and already seeing the results. He normally used to run around position 4 or 5, and he took out a great second place in race number 1. Then we have Fowler in the Giant Mandra car number 10, starting alongside multiple state champion in Rod Lisson in car number 71. Third row will be Michael Lloyd starting against car number 29 of Renan Sanchez. The first of our lady drivers, Kathy Lisson in car number 11, will start alongside Vinnie Padawanu. We have Simon Bate. The best of the 1200cc category cars, car number 14 of Miles Lockett over Andrew Lockett in P2, and then Isaac Scary took out third place in car number 44. So we'll have to wait and see whether we see Dave Campbell this time. I can see a blue car down towards the back of the field, and unfortunately for Dave, not able to get out there in race number 1. So we'll possibly start from the rear of the field, and he's alongside a yellow car. I think that's 77 of Yo down there. So looking good for a start for Dave Campbell in car number 58. He'll be worth keeping an eye on as we are now getting the green flag from the rear of the grid. We're not too far away from a get-go here at carco.com.au Raceway. This is race number 2 for Giant Mandra, the Morton plate and the BM Graphics plate, and away we go on a very even start this time for Paul Maltoni, and Mason Legg looks like he's going to have to settle in for second position at the moment. Rod Lisson out wide, and on the inside of him would be Fowler in car number 10. Lisson trying to go around the outside of Fowler. He's not going to be able to pull that move off, and we saw this in race number 1. These top 4 already getting away from the rest of the field. Down up in over turn number 5 for the first time. They're side by side as they crest the top of the hill, and now we see Mason Legg just drop back into the gearbox now of Paul Maltoni as they go over the top of the hill for the first time, side by side with Connor Welsh back there. That would be Gow in car number 32. He was sideways across the top of the hill, up and over the hill for the first time, and it's going to be Maltoni. He's got 2 car lengths, but this 4-car battle for the lead again. It looks like it's Fowler in third. Mason Legg still hanging on for second. Rod Lisson in car number 71, the red, black and white car, holding on for fourth at the moment. Then we go back to Lloyd. So we'll get an indication of the lap times next time through, but these top 4, you could throw a blanket over them.
And that's just how it was in race number 1 with the top 4. Well, Maltoni got a bit of a gap towards the end of the race, but the second, third and fourth position was absolutely dynamite racing. They were so close you could, as Vaughan just said, throw a blanket over and you couldn't separate them, and that's exactly what they're doing again right here in race 2.
The Lockett family hold first and second at the moment from Isaac Scary in third place for the 1200cc category, as all of our runners now start to sort themselves out pretty much single file. And that is Dave Campbell out there. He's already moved up 4 positions in lap number 1. So keep an eye on the sky blue car, car number 58, towards the rear of the field. He's already starting to make inroads, and there's some really good battles happening already. There's the 2 Lockett, father and son. Father in front, Miles from Andrew Lockett in car number 14 in 41 in second place. And then Mackenzie Matthews in car number 92. Then we go back to Isaac Scary as our leader, Paul Maltoni. There's that gap starting to develop already, Zach.
Yeah, indeed. Out 0.7 of a second on that lap alone, Vaughan and Zane. I mean, 1 minute 8.1273, fastest over the race thus far, and has done just enough to break the toe, break the slipstream of the chasing pack. Legg, Fowler and Lisson, who are in pretty close tow. As I said earlier, these guys, they've got XL vibes written all over them right now, but you won't see anywhere near as much wheel-to-wheel racing side by side, because all you need is one inter-wheel lock and it's curtains. Second battle pack looking just as hard fought, and that's 5 cars in tow there. Paduano and Lloyd, Lisson, Sanchez, Bate, all fighting over 5th place on the racetrack right now. Out of 6th for the third time here, Maltoni, Legg, Fowler and Lisson. Maltoni's
here
broken
we
clear.
go.
Here we go.
Here we go. This is what Formula
Wide.
V racing is all about here at Carco Raceway. 3 wide into the braking area. Jason Fowler looking for a run underneath Mason Legg. He wasn't able to pull it off, but that's now allowed Rod Lisson to go to driver's right. They're side by side as they go across the stripe and down into turn number 1. It's Maltoni from Legg, and here comes Rod Lisson in car number 71. Sneaks up the inside of Jason Fowler in the giant Mandra car.
Brilliant
And
move
just
there.
enough breathing space there, those boys, didn't they? To go,
Yes,
to
it's
go
very
3
close.
wide without bumping panels or bumping wheels. Had it been trying to go 4 wide, that could have been ugly. But that it's settled down now. Second in Legg has managed to put 0.6 of a second on third and fourth. Fowler and Lisson left to battle over the last spot of the podium. But the battle behind that's really hotting up.
It certainly is. For our 1200s, it's still Miles Lockett in car number 14 over his son Andrew Lockett. And then we go back on 36 points at the moment is Isaac Scary in car number 44. Dave Campbell has now moved up another 2 positions, currently in P15, as we pick up with our leaders again. Rod Lisson down the inside of Mason Legg, and he's trying to take Jason Fowler with him. Fowler backs out of it, allows Mason Legg to hang into third place. Lisson's hit the inside of the apex there and got the car right up on 2 wheels, and that's going to allow Mason Legg to drive right around the outside. But look at Jason Fowler, car number 10 for Giant Mandra, out of Mandra, overtakes both of them and goes straight up into second position.
Now that is
Fourth to
3 wide
second.
racing. We've got
that's
now
impressive.
Maltoni skipping away a little bit while these 3 battle out. This is just a repeat of race 1 all over again. As Maltoni makes his way up the hill again, followed about 2 seconds the gap now between Legg and Maltoni. Fowler is only 1/10 behind him as they went across the strike there. So the top 4 absolutely hotting it up.
And what you're going to notice too, boys, is Maltoni, the more the 3 behind in Legg, Fowler and Lisson just continue to squabble, the more Maltoni's going to take off into the sunset.
Yep, exactly.
He's already checked out. He's written the check. Race 2 is going to be his, unless he puts a foot incredibly wrong here. But now, under pressure once more. So, down the inside, and they'll swap round again. Back onto the main straight will go. So, Fowler, Legg, and Lisson, that battle continues to explode here. And you might have noticed too, folks, it's 15 minutes plus 1 lap this time round. So, an extra 3 minutes of racing as the 10 gets down there on the inside. Fowler to continue to hold on to second for the moment. Watch Lisson under pressure from Legg. Legg trying, of course, to get back up to where he was a few moments ago.
Yeah, Legg has dropped 2 positions in that last lap, but that's what Formula V racing's all about. As we said, they're not the most powerful cars out there, but certainly one of the most exciting categories. And somebody's gone really wide, and that was Jason Fowler. He was able to recover it, but very wide out there on the drifter's rubber, left from a practice session earlier through the week. Now that's going to allow Rod Lisson a good opportunity to have a look at him down there in turn number 6 as we pick up with Paul Maltoni. He's still driving away. Fowler into second, Lisson into third, and Mason Legg still hanging on for P4 at the moment. Then Michael Lloyd, Vinny Panawadu, Simon Bate, Kathy Lisson, Renan Sanchez and Ken Wyatt round out our top 10.
Here comes Lisson down on the inside again. So once again, the lead or the position second changes. Once again, they follow each other down the main straight again, and now they try and go 3 wide. Not going to try and make it there.
No.
Lisson on the outside. I think he'll have to tuck back in. No, he's got the inside line. There he is. Coming back
Fowler
round
had
again.
to yield.
He had to yield.
Fowler was having a look up on the outside, but he had to yield. He ran out of time. He ran out of real estate. So that is Lisson and Legg. And then, of course, Fowler, 2, 3, and 4 at the moment. Maltoni's lead is extended out to 3.27 seconds. And he'd be $1 favourite to take the third race based on this form. But the key will be getting as commanding a start in race 3, because if he gets caught up in the battle, it'll be a 4-way fight for the win, which will be a magnificent spectacle for us in central commentary and for those of you trackside and those of you tuning in on the live stream. Let's check in further afield, Vaughan. The 1200 still going at it as well, as that battle for 5th outright too.
They certainly are. It's Miles Lockett, and he's actually put Madeline Matthews in between himself and his son. So they are running in 11th and 13th. Isaac Scary in 14th. Dave Campbell showing as in P15 last time across the stripe. Just trying to see whether we're going to get any more progression forward from Dave Campbell. And we pick up with our leaders again. Moltoni's gone. Listen up into second now. Mason Legg into third. And Jason Fowler in the blue car, number 10 from Giant Mandurah out of Mandurah. He's still hanging on for fourth position, but is starting to really close up now in the 1200s. As I said, Madeline Matthews, car number 92, in between the father and son pair of Miles and Andrew Lockett. Isaac Scary still hanging on for 14th. Dave Campbell's just come across in 15th. Brett Scary in car number 4 in P16.
So again, that battle for second continues. Listen, Legg, Fowler. Fowler will be trying to get a run here, but it's easier said than done. He's not just trying to get by one, but two drivers of equal stature. Listen and Legg continuing to squabble over second. Back onto the main straight we go, and another lap in the books. Moltoni's lead is out beyond 3.5 seconds now.
There's another move on from Jason Fowler up the inside of Mason Legg, who got back into second position. Now Jason Fowler and Mason Legg side by side on the entry into turn number 1 as Renan Sanchez has moved up 2 positions from P11 up to P9. But this is a great battle. Moltoni's now starting to negotiate the lap traffic, but behind him, Jason Fowler now up into second, Mason Legg in third, and starting to pull away from Rod Listen.
And the thing these three have got to be careful about is if one of them just catches a back marker at the wrong time, then that'll be all over. The other two will be all over the other one. They've got to make sure they weave their way through the lap traffic at the right time, make sure they can get onto the straight proper again. There we go. That's Fowler just ahead of Legg. Yep, Legg just ahead of Listen as well. And here they go. They've got though they have cleared the lap traffic again. So, and Listen coming down on the inside of Fowler. Will he make it? No, he doesn't. He chooses to tuck back in again. Thought wiser of it.
And we've got one car coming back into the pits. This could be Callum Lamont, actually. It doesn't look like he's reeled off a lap in car number 91, and Jonathan Scary also not coming across the line in car number 23 as well. So we pick up with our battle for second place, and there's Brett Scary. Unfortunately, he has come to a standstill up there on the top of the hill in car number 4. I can see him sitting in the car with his hand up, so he is off to driver's right as they come up the hill towards turn number 5. So, there's a big lock-up. Actually, that could have been an engine blow there for Rod Listen in car number 71. Smoked the rears right up on that car. It looks like it's still going, but gee, that was a big brake lock-up there and just about went into the back of the stationary Brett Scary.
Oh, and then we've got another spinner.
Oh, there's a spinner.
4.
There's got to be oil out there at the moment.
Car deployed.
There's got to be oil out there, unfortunately, on the circuit. So with 15 seconds remaining, this one is going to finish also under a safety car. So unfortunately, it looks like Brett Scary must have lost some oil around there, and he shut the car down straight away with the loss of oil pressure, and unfortunately may have deposited some. I won't say he has, but it looks like he may have deposited some oil back there and just about caught out the multiple state champion in Rod Listen, who had to go beach buggying to go around the side of Brett Scary.
Jeez, what a hairy moment for Listen. Of course, as you're coming up out of turn 4, it can be somewhat blind, so that was good awareness from Listen to at least swerve a little bit harder to the right-hand side, take the grass route and avoid the stranded vehicle. Safety car deployed, as you said, Vaughan. The other point was that we were only going to get this lap and another in anyway, because they were coming back to the line pretty much bang on that 15-minute time certainty, which would have given us a last lap board anyway. It's just a shame that we end neutralised. Moltoni will win it. The margin will be somewhat flattering to everybody else now, given that he will be brought back to the train. Fowler will hold off Legg. That's obviously a big moment for Listen, took him out of the fight for second and almost surely secured him fourth place, even without the safety car deployment. And it'll be interesting to see now what Race Control do, our trackside officials there at carco.com.au Raceway from the WA Sporting Car Club. no doubt will take to the circuit. Some evasive action required there by a few Formula Vs, so therefore probably a track inspection to follow this before any more racing unfolds, whether they need to put some liquid and some sawdust or the like down on the circuit to clean up whatever has been left behind by the Formula Vs.
So we're just having a look down at race control at the moment, our start-finish line officials with Peter Patterson, our official starter for Super Saturday here at carco.com.au Raceway Field, making their way down into turn number 7. So they'll either get the last lap or a checkered flag, and it looks like they're clapping down there. So there's the checkered flag. So as you said, Zach, Paul Moltoni takes out the win, and it was only by 0.3 of a second after being in the next postcode earlier on in that race. Jason Fowler will take out second place from Mason Legg, and then Rod Lisson rounds out our top 4 in the 1600s. In the 1200s, the win will go to Miles Lockett over his son Andrew Lockett, and in third place, representing the Scary family and BM Graphics, car number 44, young Isaac Scary takes home third place in race number 2 for the BM Graphics plate and the Morton plate here at carco.com.au Raceway. So still waiting for the rest of the field to filter past. They all have now, so they will turn back into the pits. We're going to have to take a short break while we retrieve the car of Brett Scary, car number 4. It's stationary on driver's right on the way up to turn number 5. So stick around, plenty more racing to come your way this afternoon. The amazing historic touring cars coming up very, very shortly. And Zach, I don't know whether you were actually on board to see race number 1 earlier today. It was a cracker of a race for these older cars.
Unfortunately, I wasn't. I was only able to jump in with you guys for the XLs due to being on radio on West Bromma Radio over in Ipswich, up in Queensland, of course. So it was a case of trying to juggle the load and be in 2 places at once. I did have the monitor on, but I didn't get a good enough chance to watch it. So looking forward to seeing them in action for 2 more today. Only 1 more for Formula V, unfortunately. Too much Formula V is never enough. And to go back to your point as well, Vaughan, there's a lot of people that say to me, oh, what excites you so much about Formula V, or what excites you so much about XL racing? Well, what you just saw there on screen, they don't have to be the fastest cars, but it's the racecraft, it's the battle packs, it's the close proximity of it all that makes it so entertaining. Same with the XLs, and what you're seeing with something like the Free Formula, for instance, in the Formula race cars, is that sometimes you can have the quality over the quantity, like what we're seeing in that battle for first and second. So something to like for everyone here this afternoon. Hopefully a green flag finish for race 3 of Formula V, but very much looking forward to the historic touring cars very shortly.
Yeah, all right. We're going to take a very short break here so Zane and I can grab something to drink and get ready for the historic touring cars. Coming your way next here at carco.com.au Raceway, 15 minutes plus 1 lap. Stick around. Lots more to come your way this afternoon. This is Super Saturday here at Carco Raceway.
there's the rain again.
Welcome back to carco.com.au Raceway, whether you're here at the venue or watching from anywhere around this very big planet of ours. We've got the historic touring cars, the way it used to be at Mount Panorama, a distinct difference to what we saw at Mount Panorama last Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. These cars raced in the 60s and 70s and what some people would call the golden era of Australian touring car racing. Not necessarily golden, but definitely a different era, and different can always be exciting, and these cars definitely are exciting.
They certainly are. There's a mixture of V8s out there, a V6, there's 4 cylinders, straight inline 6 cylinders as well out there, and it was all Peter Piscaneri in race number 1 from Greg Barr, who had a great battle with John Bondi, and I'm just looking to see, yeah, there's Bondi's car just leaving now. Simon Northey rounded out a good race number 1 in car number 44 in the second of the Mustangs. And then we had Stuart Young in car number 32, another beautifully presented XU1. Randall Beavis out there in his relatively new Ford Capri, car number 58. Mitch Evans, the first of the Flying Bricks, and didn't he provide some awesome onboard footage in race number 1. Then we have Paul Onofaro, the second of the Flying Bricks. Michael Vandenright, car number 101. Ian Brown in the 64 Mark I GT Cortina in car number 92. Then Paul Vandenright, Wendy Cover and Don Behetz. And I don't see Don out there. So unfortunately for the Galaxy, big issues.
Yeah, he didn't finish race 1, unfortunately. He broke down on the last lap, around the back of the circuit somewhere. So obviously they haven't been able to get the big Galaxy up and running again for race 2, which is a bit of a shame because that car goes great guns.
It certainly does. It's got a big 7-litre, a 427 cubic inch motor on board. It pushes out over 500 horsepower, and it's just the weight that kind of lets that car down. But as we've said over the last couple of race meetings up here at Carco, that's the way it used to be at places like Talladega and Daytona as well. One of those cars ripping around at 150 mile an hour and something happens, it's going to hurt.
They were harder men in those days, and Don is definitely a man of those days. But there's just a variety. Here we are on board with the Mini. Is that a Mini? Or?
Yep, that's Mitch Evans, I think that is. Oh, actually, no, we've swapped cars.
58.
It's 58, so that will be Randall Beavis on board in the V6 3-litre V6 Capri. As I said, this car just recently purchased by Randall. As he's had a multitude of historic touring cars coming out of a karting career up there at Hurricane Kart Club. He used to race against Randall very, very closely back in the days, and great to see him still loving his motorsport and putting his hand into his pocket. He's continually upgrading. Had a beautiful Lotus Cortina that was used to be one of the Perth presidents of the WA Historic Touring Car Club cars, and John, and that car unfortunately was sold, and he's bought this one, and this is an absolute cracker. This is the only Ford Capri that we see here regularly. We do have another 2 Ford Capris as members of the WA Historic Touring Car Club, but we very rarely get to see them out on the circuit. So we're going to get some great onboard footage here from the 3rd row. The white car, number 58, starting alongside Stuart Young, is Randall Beavis, and good to see Wendy Cover on the back of the field. Car number 6 driving for Bob O'Neill in the EH Holden, the red car with the black stripe up and over the top, as we go on board with Randall Beavis in this V6 3-litre Ford Capri. Waiting for the red light to come on, again being held for a long time. Red light's on, off they go, and it's a good start from Peter Piscaneri. Greg Barr just went right up into wheel spin, and I can see the Capri has actually gained 1 position, but now coming under attack from Paul Onofaro, who's got in front of Mitch Evans. Side by side on the exit of turn number 1, John Bondi and Greg Barr in the GTR XU1. Then Simon Northey. We go back to the Ford Capri. Now look at Mitch Evans doing a run on Paul Onofaro. The 2 minis side by side, and it looks like Mitch Evans is going to hang on. Drives around the outside of Paul Onofaro. Then we go back to Stuart Young, Ian Brown, and rounding out the field is a Wendy Cover and Paul Vandenright.
Yeah, Greg Barr, he just did an impression of a steam train away from the line. He just didn't really go anywhere, but Piscaneri definitely went somewhere. Although that being said, Barr has been able to hold on, and Bondi rather, he's got his hand out the window. He's not going very good in his Monaro. Oh dear.
So that will be game over for car number 89 of John Bondi as we pick up on second place at the moment. Piscaneri already across the start-finish line. Greg Barr just coming past turn number 7. There he goes across the line now, and it's the beautifully presented GTR XU1 of Greg Barr. Then we go back to Simon Northey. And there's Randall Beavis in car number 58, Stuart Young. There's Mitch Evans as well, car number 16. And Onofaro, the Paul variety, in car number 112. Then we go back to Ian Brown in the Cortina, Mike Vandenright in the Series 3 Cortina, Wendy Cover, and we've lost 3 cars now, John Bondi, Paul Vandenright and Don Behetz.
Yeah, bad luck for Bondi there, but Piscaneri, on the other hand, he's having a great day at the front. He's having it all to himself. He's running away with it in his big Mustang. Look at the gap he's got. He's got basically an entire suburb in between him and the Tirana. And then behind the Tirana is the Mustang of Northey. He's going to try and do everything he can to catch up to the Tirana of Barr.
They come up and over the top of the hill. The Ford Capri of Randall Beavis is next in line with Stuart Young, now starting to look menacing in the GTR XU1. As a look down the inside, fills up the driver's side window of Randall Beavis in car number 58. So we go back on board now with Randall Beavis as he comes underneath the carco.com.au bridge and down into turn number 1. Back into third gear, holds the car right out wide, now brings it right in over onto the apex of turn number 1. Lets the car drift out to driver's left, now goes up through turn number 2 and 3, the bus stop area of our Carco 2.4 1 kilometre circuit, and then hard on the brakes again, down a gear into third for the big climb up and over the top of the hill. We can see Simon Northey getting a little bit squirrely too on the way over turn number 5. This is where the V6 is going to have him down here into brakes. It's a lightweight car compared to the big Ford Mustang, and you can see visually on the screen here how much room Randall Beavis was able to gain on the entrance into turn number 6. But have a look in the rear vision mirror. He's got company coming from behind as well.
Yep.
So very busy is car number 58 of Randall Beavis.
He is very busy at the front. Well, not at the front. Piscaneri's having a lovely time up there. Here's Beavis. He's trying absolutely everything to keep the Tirana behind him. But he gets to the corners, he's all right. But on the straights, the Tirana just reels him in a little bit and a little bit at a time.
Simon Northey in that beautifully presented car number 44. But Stuart Young, as I said, starting to fill the mirrors of Randall Beavis in the Capri. He is getting closer. And then you go back to Mitch Evans in the first of the minis now. He was able to drive around the outside of Paul Onofaro in turn number 4. But here's the move from Stuart Young. Closes up 2 or 3 car lengths under brakes to Randall Beavis, and he's still closing in now as they head up and over the top of the hill. Beavis out wide. That's going to put him over on the ripple strip and possibly out into the sand on the way through turn number 5. But Piscaneri already on his way up and over the top of the hill. Greg Barr into second place at the moment, and Simon Northey in the second of the Mustangs in the top 3. 2 Fords and 1 Holden product make up your top 3.
Mustangs galore here at carco.com.au Raceway, and we can just see as well Randall has been passed by Young in the Tirana. He got him in the bowl, I believe.
Yeah, down there in turn number 6. And Randall's going to look for a fight back here. He's very late on the brakes into turn number 1. Closes up on the back of the Tirana, but not enough to do anything about Stuart Young at the moment. But there's our leader heading through turn number 4 at the moment, right close to the curb that is on driver's left front. You try and tuck that left front wheel all the way around the curb and then flip the car over to the right-hand side and just hope that you've got all your markers right, because you cannot see over the top of turn number 5. It's a bit of a butcher's picnic until you get there. Now he's starting to come up on some slower traffic is Piscaneri, and that would be Wendy Cover in the EH, just moving out of the way and allowing Piscaneri to come through unimpeded. But look at the lead that he's got now over Greg Barr in the Tirana. There's nothing that Greg Barr is going to be able to do from way back there.
unless, of course, Piscaneri has a problem, which, as we all know, anything can happen, as look what happened to poor John Bondi, as
Yep.
Tirana makes its way past its older brother, the old EH Holden.
And you would have seen as well, boys, sorry to jump in there, I was going to say you would have also seen blue flags being waved as well as lap traffic starts to become a bit more of a factor here. So good observance by those lap cars to just pull to one side and let the faster cars through. You mentioned Zane Piscaneri, that lead out to 6.79 seconds. It helped that it was 3.9 after the opening lap. His winning margin earlier today was 11.59 seconds. Let's see if he can better that, considering this race is slightly longer. We've got somewhere in the vicinity of another 6 laps to go. We've got 5:15 on the clock plus 1 lap as they make their way down to turn 5 once more. In this battle for fourth place, Beavis and Young, they're like chalk and cheese, but they're glued together at the moment as they come out of turn 6 once more.
Yes, Stuart Young was in front. Now Randall Beavis has taken that lead back again from Stuart Young. Although as they come over the top of the hill, Young looks to fill the mirrors again of Randall Beavis, trying to tempt him to move over and slow his exit down out of turn number 7. But Randall's been around for far too long, lets the car do its own thing on the way out of turn number 7, which is always the fast way. But having said that, here comes Stuart Young again. A big dive bomb underneath him on brakes as we go on board with Randall Beavis, and Stuart Young slides the GTR XU1 right up the inside of the Ford Capri. Now what can Randall Beavis do in the V6 3-litre Ford Capri as they head up and over the bus stop, back down a gear into 3rd gear now for Randall as he tries to get onto the boot lid of the GTR XU1 as they come up and over the top of the hill, turn number 5. The blind right-hander at the top of the hill, and Randall Beavis looks like he's going to be in a place to have a crack at him very, very shortly.
He probably will down into turn 7 if he can stay with him, or down on the hard on the brakes. Turn 7 actually is the hardest braking point in all of Australian motorsport, more than the second actually, I've just been informed, because apparently there is one that is a bit more.
Mount Panorama.
How could I
Yes, the
coming
runoff
down
right
into the chase.
Yep, absolutely. And again, the 32 continues to hold sway there. So Young holds off Beavis for now, but still another 3.5 minutes of this, plus 1 lap to go, folks, as they cross the start-finish line once more. Race 2 of the historic touring cars, the final event of the season for the WA Sporting Car Club at carco.com.au Raceway. Whether you're tuning in via the circuit or around Australia or around the world even, it's great to have you along on a Saturday afternoon. As Vaughan quite rightly said, it is Super Saturday, and the XL is going to make sure of that when they're out on the circuit in just a few moments' time. But we've still got 3 more minutes of this. Piscaneri's lead has gone out to 8.57 seconds. Norley looks steady in 3rd, and then this battle, it's 19 seconds the deficit, but only 0.6 of a second between 4th and 5th. Kova continues to be a lap and a half down, and Bondi's joined Ritt and Betts in retirement there. So that's the problem, isn't it, Vaughan? As much as we love the hark back to the old golden era, these cars are prone to breaking down. The rate of attrition is usually, unfortunately, high in historic touring cars, and we've seen that already, 3 retirements so far.
Yeah, that's right, mate. And the last race meeting we had here, we had Nick Swift over from England, and he took it right up to the Chevrolet Camaros and the Ford Mustangs in a Mini, if you don't mind. He is the best Mini driver in the world, and he had some great battles with the local hotshot in Connor Onofaro in the little yellow car number 22. And of course, we had a big contingent over from Queensland and South Australia as well as our international visitor as one of the Vandenrights. That's car number 101. That's Michael Vandenright. Hand out the window. So here comes another retirement here from, I think that one's about a 1972 model TC Cortina, and he's heading back into the paddock area. So unfortunately for Mike Vandenright, it's game over here in race number 2. First, second and third pretty much sorted out. It's this battle between Young and Beavis as we pick up with Piscaneri now starting to lap Wendy Kova again in the EH as she stays nice and wide and allows the Mustang to go through on the inside. Same thing for Ian Brown in the Cortina as well. But all Peter Piscaneri so far today doing a great job out in front. I'm just trying to pick up Stuart Young. Here he goes now. He's just gone past our commentary position, down into turn number 1. He looks like he's rock solid now for 4th.
Yes,
Looks like there's only going to be 9 finishes here now, boys.
Yeah, we've got 1 minute left on the clock, so we'll probably have 2 more laps left, I believe. Yep. Piscaneri in an absolute class of his own in that Mustang at the moment. I wonder if he's getting bored, actually, at the front.
You never get bored in a race car, mate. Never. Doesn't matter how fast or slow you're going, you never get bored. I can tell you that from experience.
Although it's interesting that you say that, isn't it, Vaughan? I mean, it can be very easy to get distracted or sidetracked when you're out there on your own. You've got a little bit less to think about. You're not worried about the car behind you or the car in front of you. You're just worried about rolling through the motions and ticking the box and getting the job done. So it can be a little bit lonely, but yeah, certainly not boring. Lap traffic continues
mate.
make way here.
For you with Randall Beavis has just flown past Stuart Young in the GTR XU1. So we're coming down to time certainty now. So they will get 1, or they'll get 2 more laps. They'll get last lap board next time through.
Yep, they will indeed, and it'll be Piscaneri when he comes through to complete lap number 11. There's that battle that you just mentioned on screen. Beavis and Young, 25.6 and 26.1 off the leader, respectively, half a second in it. And again, like what we saw with the free Formula cars earlier, it's going to be a case of who gets the better of the lap traffic, and at the moment, Beavis holds sway, the margin half a second. White flag for our American audience, what we refer to as the last lap board here in Australia, will be on display this time by for Piscaneri as he comes across the start-finish line now. 1 to go at carco.com.au Raceway, and this will be for 2 from 2. And the margin now out beyond that 11-second winning margin from race 1. It's out to 12.6 seconds and growing.
And then we go back to 21 seconds to Simon Northey in car number 44, the second of the Mustangs up there in the top 3 cars at the moment. 2 Mustangs, 1 Holden Tirana, as we go back on board with Randall Beavis, and he's lost that lead again with Stuart Young. Stuart Young now goes back in front of him. Randall Beavis tries to fire the car up the inside. This is going to be very, very tasty here on the entry into turn number 1. Stuart Young just moves across, blocks the entry from Randall Beavis, and gets the car very wide on the exit of turn number 1. This is going to allow Beavis to close up as they drop down into 3rd gear, and hard on the brakes for the left-hander, the only left-hander here at this race course. And doesn't look like Randall's able to do much about him at the moment. Let's see what happens down into turn number 6. But our leader, Peter Piscaneri, car number 18 from the southwest of Western Australia, comes across the line to accept the second checkered flag of the day for his Ford Mustang. Greg Barr will be next across the line, coming out of turn number 7 at the moment, fires the car down the carco.com.au main straight, and he will take out a good second place. Simon Northey will be next across the line. And how's this battle with Beavis and Stuart Young? Young enters the main straight first, but Beavis trying to go down the inside. They're going to come across just about side by side. Stuart Young hangs on by the minimal amount, half a car length over Randall Beavis in car number 58. Then we go back to Mitch Evans coming over the stripe now in car number 16. What a fantastic race, boys.
Absolutely brilliant, with Beavis and Young going at it for the entire race. Piscaneri driving absolutely faultlessly the entire time, but man of the match for me is Randall Beavis, just for taking the fight up to the Tirana like that.
Absolutely.
He certainly
magnificent
hung on
racing.
It was.
There's the results sheet. 2 Vaughan, Peter Piscaneri, Greg Barr, Simon Northey, then Stuart Young, Randall Beavis, Mitch Evans. Then you go back to Paul Onafaro, Ian Brown, Wendy Cover, and then that list of retirements grows, unfortunately, by 2, Mike Vandenrit, and also, of course, Bondi. And the other Ritz and Behetz were non-starters after falling foul earlier in the day. So we're down to 9 at the moment. It'll be interesting to see, hopefully, the 2 cars that have pulled up in that race just gone, Bondi and also Rit, will be able to find a way to repair their cars and get them back out on the racetrack. But it is a tight turnaround, boys. They've only got another 3 races to fall back on from the other categories on the bill here today before they're back out there. So it's only about an hour turnaround, which is a very tight one for those cars. They'll barely have time to cool down before they'll be getting back ready in the marshalling area once more. We've got more great racing coming up from here at carco.com.au Raceway. But yes, Piscateri, Bar, Northey, Young and Beavis, the top 5. And I like what Zane was saying there. Great racing and man of the match performance to Beavis and Young. I mean, they stole the show in the battle for a minor placing. And it just goes to show you that you only need 2 good cars, one good battle pack to improve the quality of the spectacle. So Piscateri's winning margin, 14.18 seconds in the end. Dominant and clinical, didn't put a foot wrong, and more of the hark back to the days of the golden era coming up a little bit later on this afternoon.
Thanks very much, Zach. We're going to take a very short break here at Carco Raceway as we prepare for the free formula and throw in a couple of FSR cars out there as well. The SR3 Radicals, they're up next here at Carco Raceway. Stick around, plenty more to come this afternoon on your Super Saturday. Free Formula and FSR out on the circuit. And of course, these guys racing today for the prestigious Bob Creasy Memorial Trophy. And Bob was a multiple champion, and unfortunately we lost him in 2023. He was the last Western Australian Sporting Car Club member to have raced at both circuits, at Caversham and then up here in 1969. And what a way to remember a true champion of these free formula, or as it was a racing car period back then. And Bob Creasy was the man to beat, not only here in Perth, but all around Australia. And he's sadly missed, unfortunately, but we will remember him through the Bob Creasy Memorial Trophy. And that's what these guys are out on the circuit for right now, with Bill Norman in the Rolt RT4 and Stuart Burns starting alongside him. This is a rolling start, remember, for all of our free formula and FSR races. Derek Burns starts out of P3 with Lance Carwadine in car number 18. Then John Hurney having a good run so far this morning in car number 50 with Craig Thompson in car number 182. Brian Searles, car number 83, the Rolt RT1. And then David Dearden, Glenn Swarbrick, and let's see whether we got Bruce Mitchell out there this time. He retired in race number 1 earlier this morning. So all eyes looking for car number 48, and I don't think he's out there. So unfortunately, we've lost one of our free formula cars as we pick up on Derek Burns, the orange FSR, the SR3, and he's got his son in front of him, Stuart Burns, in the white car, car number 31. So looking forward to this one. Zane, this is going to be a good race like we saw in race number 1 between Bill Norman and Stuart Burns.
Hopefully it is, because we've got the old Rolt going up against the much more modern Radical. And Bill, I actually saw him down in the lunch break area just in between races, and he was still working on his car. He's getting up there in his years, but he's still out here, he's still racing, and he absolutely loves it. He actually was giving lots of little kids out there the opportunity to sit in his car, so that was quite nice of him.
as we saw at the lunch break with our grid walk, there's a big difference between the Rolt RT1 of Brian Searles, car number 83, compared to Bill Norman's car. I'm only a little bloke myself, but I would be hard pressed to get into Bill Norman's car, where Brian Searles' car is very wide. So for a monocoque design, if you're of a larger frame, car number 83 would be better suited to you than the Rolt RT4. Of our pole sitter, as they come through turn number 7, the safety car is away, so we wait for the red light to go off. And Bill Norman is away and racing, and it's a great start by all of them. They've all got away fairly evenly. Derek Burns automatically swaps to driver's left on the entry into turn number 1 for the first time. Stuart Burns only 2 car lengths behind Bill Norman at the moment, and that's Lance Carwadine having a crack at Derek Burns in the second of the FSR cars as they headed into turn number 4 for the first time. John Herney's up there as well in his Formula Ford. Running a nice set of Yokohama tyres on that today. They look like they were brand new tyres on car number 50, who we've got down as Watkins, and it's now been changed, which is great. Good work from race control. It's now saying Jay Herney, car number 50.
Yep, he's doing a good job down there in 5th position at the moment, and meanwhile, at the front of the field, Bill Norman, he's just eked away a tiny little bit over Stuart Burns, his radical at the moment. He's got about maybe 4 car lengths just to make sure that Stuart doesn't come up on him and decide to surprise him down the inside or anything like that. But in the corners, you can see that Stuart does make up quite a little bit of ground on him.
Well, these radicals take a little bit longer than Bill Norman's car to come up to temperature as far as the tyres. So you will see Bill Norman, he's trying to make hay while the sun shines, while Stuart Burns is still bringing everything up to temperature in that FSR. But I would say another lap's time, Stuart Burns will be coming forward big time and taking his dad with him as well. There goes Derek Burns in car number 23, some 3.5 seconds now behind. Then we go 5.1 seconds back to Lance Carwadine in the Jane Brabham. And Craig Thompson, 11.6 seconds behind the leader. Brian Searles is 11.62 behind the leader. Then Swarbrick, David Dearden, John Herney has had a issue out there. He's dropped to the back of the field. There he comes now, so he's behind Lance Carwadine. So something has happened out there for John Herney at the moment. And waiting to see what happens here with our live update as they come across the line. Stuart Burns, Derek Burns coming across, then Lance Carwadine in car number 18. But our leader is still Bill Norman, and you can see now, Zane, that the gap is starting to narrow between Bill Norman and Stuart Burns.
That it is. He's leaving his dad behind quite a bit, though. Obviously, his dad's car hasn't quite come up to temperature yet, but between Bill and Stuart, it's going to be on for young and old in a little bit.
Get that car of Stuart Burns, I'd say it's probably coming up to its peak optimum temperatures now, so it should start to close that gap on Bill Norman as they crest the hill here at carco.com.au Raceway. We pick up with Derek Burns in car number 23. As you said, he's some 5.8 seconds now behind, but he should start to come forward as well. Let's see what the lead is this time. It was 1.2, now it's 1.3. So Bill Norman, he's actually just set fastest lap, so that explains that. Bill Norman is still going quick, and Stuart Burns needs to go a little bit quicker.
That's the old adage of racing, just make sure you're faster than the guy in front.
Good battle as they come over the top of the hill. That would be Craig Thompson and John Herney out there right behind Lance Carwadine and Jane Brabham. Brabham, as we heard at lunchtime, a very sought after race car, and something that I think I would cringe to put on the racetrack, actually. I don't think I could kind of protect that car. And all of these cars, they require so much work and that to keep bringing them back to the circuit. But it's great to see them here. Just about every race meeting, these guys come out with these older cars. And, you know, there's a lot of work involved to get them here and to keep them on the circuit itself.
Yep, and that all comes at a cost as well, doesn't it, boys? And we know that there's something to be said about, you know, the increased pressures with cost of living and everything else these days. Race cars play a part in that as well. 1.7 now the advantage, Norman to Burns. 58.8445 for Norman that time round. So he continues to wind the wick up. 59.9 1998 for Burns compared to his last lap time of a 59.20. So he's not quite there yet, despite putting out a green box through the first sector that time around. 1.72 the margin first to second. So Norman certainly, it would appear as though he's got the wood on Burns in this one, in which case it'll be 2-0 with one to play. Burns and Carwadine in there next. Carwadine still under pressure from Herney, but he's edged out to an extra few tenths of a second to release some tension, release some pressure a little bit. It's 1 second the margin between fourth and fifth. Searles and Thompson, not dissimilar, I think 6 tenths of a second separating them as well. So the 83 and the 182 having a good ding-dong scrap.
There's the fight back
battle at the moment.
From Stuart
there.
Burns, that's the fight back, a 58.65, fastest lap of the race by 2 tenths of a second now. So, and you can see that they are coming up on lap traffic, and the distance between Norman and Stuart Burns is closing rapidly.
He got the memo then, obviously, that he needed to wind the wick up and find an extra gear, and he's done just that. Has Burns 1.4 now the margin. And we'll continue to monitor that closely. As Vaughan just said, lap traffic about to play its part, and that was a defining moment in the first race as well. Side by side, the battle further back. We mentioned this a moment ago. The 182, Thompson down the outside of Searles to move up into position number 6.
Rolt RT1 on Brian Searles, car number 83, as they just scream across the start-finish line here. We're trying to pick up on our leaders at the moment. There he is now, and that is definitely, that's under a second now for sure. Yes, 0.2 of a second as they cross the stripe, this time between Norman and Burns, and they're coming up on 3 lap traffic. So there goes the first one of David Dearden. He stays right over to driver's left and allows Stuart Burns to go through. Now Bill Norman has to come up on 2 of the slower cars, hopefully gets them over the top of the hill here, and Stuart Burns, he'd be hoping, fingers crossed, that he can also get past before he gets down into turn number 6. Bill Norman's gone past both of them and took Stuart Burns with him, and Burns is looking menacing now. He's right up, and he's just side by side. This is awesome racing here from our free formula. Side by side, over the top of the hill, and Burns takes the lead.
Down into the turn 7, yes. Yep, Stuart Burns, he's now got the lead off Bill Norman. Now he just wants to try and keep Norman behind him. And now he finally leads a lap this weekend.
Well, he's got about 6 laps to play with here, boys. 4.5 minutes plus a lap. So that's going to be 5, and then the extra to get us to 6. They'll get back to the line with about half a minute to go on the clock with that 4-lap marker, and then that'll be 2 from there. So it's at least 6 laps.
Oh, he ran wide.
Wide opens the door back up. Straight back up on the inside goes Norman, not waiting for a second invitation. He'll take the first, and the lead, the order is restored. But Burns has sent a message that he will find a way through if it's presented to him. He worked and chipped away at that, as Zane pointed out in race 1, with no luck. This time round, different story, and still, as I said, 5 laps for this battle to sort itself out. It's hotting up at the front.
Bill Norman in the Rolt RT4. Looks like it just took away a bit of the aero on the front of Stuart Burns' car as they went into turn number 4. Burns' car got a big push into turn number 4, went right out wide out towards the concrete apron, and that was enough for Bill Norman to say thank you, and I'm going to drive straight past. Now it's the recovery from Stuart Burns. All eyes towards the front. You can forget about everybody else. They are all strung out. There's not really much happening further back in the field. It's all up the front here with Bill Norman in the Rolt RT4 hanging on for grim death from Stuart Burns, who's looking very menacing as they crest the top of the hill and down towards the bowl.
I can guarantee that Bill Norman will have his head on a swivel, looking in the mirrors, making sure he always has Stuart Burns in his sight. He's really pushing that old John David Briggs Rolt as hard as it can go to make sure that the Radical is behind him, and he's got a bit of a gap now with about 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. Bill comes round again, and no, he's going perfectly now. He's really trying to make sure that the Radical can't find a way through.
Lap time starting to fall away now from Stuart Burns.
He stretched it back out to 1.4, so that could be all she wrote as far as Burns is concerned. Norman now only needs 3-4 more laps to hold on here, and the job will be done.
He's done a great job, did Stuart Burns, to get up there, because he was a long way back. And I thought, oh, this is not going to be like race number 1, but Stuart Burns turned it into race number 1. It was a carbon copy of what was happening, and unfortunately he's now starting to suffer through overexciting those tyres. I don't think he's going to be able to come back from here. We'll have to check the margin, but fast lap of the race does go to Stuart Burns in that motorcycle power driven car. That's the big difference between the Rolt RT4 of Bill Norman. And as I say that, Stuart Burns is now approaching the back end of that Rolt RT4 yet again. There's only 4 car lengths in it as they head down in towards turn number 1. And let's see what happens this time with Stuart Burns. Again, the aero wash taken off the front of the car, and it started to understeer into turn number 1. Now he's got his head back together again and trying to mow down this Rolt RT4. What a great race.
Well, if Burns wants to get
7
through,
tenths of a second out that last lap zone.
He's only got 1 minute and 12 seconds to get through, so he's only got about 2 more laps, really. Yeah, he's really hounding Bill Norman right now.
Got a 3-car battle now. Sorry, mate, down here on into turn number 1, it was Lance Carwadine and Craig Thompson. Craig Thompson runs wide. Carwadine runs straight underneath him and trying to take Brian Searles and David Dearden with him as they headed up through the bus stop this time. Lance Carwadine able to break free now and drive away from the rest of those 3.
Oh, here we go.
And across the line, it's Bill Norman just.
Up and under. Burns tried to have a crack but couldn't get by. Norman shuts the door once more. 2 laps to go, boys. 25 seconds on the clock. Next time by last lap board in the air. And Burns is as close as he's been for a while.
And lap traffic coming up with the 82 make on Formula 4 to Glenn Swarbrick. Car number 29. He'll be next on the Bill Norman hit list as they go across the top of turn number 5 and down towards the bowl with 2 more laps to go, with Bill Norman hanging on still. And they come right up to the back now of Glenn Swarbrick in the Formula Ford. Hopefully Glenn's got his eye in the mirrors and stays right out to driver's left, and he does. And look at Stuart Burns menacing all over the back of Bill Norman again as they cross the hill down into turn number 7. I think Norman's going to hang on to this one as he tips the car into turn number 7, tries to keep it straight. Now that's side by side with Stuart Burns up the inside. Burns is going to take over the lead here into turn number 1 unless William comes across, and that's exactly what he does and cuts off that lead from Stuart Burns.
Oh, what a battle we've got here.
Last lap.
Yep, the last lap now. All the Rolt has to do is just make sure that he can just get it stopped at the last corner. He was a bit squirrely coming onto the front straight, which allowed Burns up the inside just to have a little look, but he was just able to get to the first corner first and cover the line.
1/10 of a second is the margin, boys, as they make their way down to turn 6 for the final time. Norman looking good for 2 from 2, but not without tremendous pressure from Burns every step of the way. Final run, the final sector, the run to the checkered flag, the final braking zone. Norman defending the inside. Burns trying to squeeze down the inside, then opts out of it. Yields. Opts for the up and under on the exit out of 7. Down the main straight we go. Norman Burns across the line. Norman by 10. 15 hundredths of a second, all that was separating them at the end. They're another corker of a battle for outright honours for Free Formula and FSR, of course, here at carco.com.au Raceway. 13 laps and 0.1 is all that separated them. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, a great battle there, and it just shows that the old cars have still got pace compared to a fairly relatively new model FSR, the SR3 version of the Radical race car. Of course, brought into Australia by our friends at Arise Racing up the back here of the paddock area at carco.com.au Raceway. And Derek Burns able to hang on for 3rd. He had a pretty lonely drive there. Car number 18 just crossing across the line now was Lance Carwadine. Next across the line will be this battle between Craig Thompson. Oh, and Craig Thompson loops it on the way out of turn number 7. No. So he's thrown away 2 positions, and that will allow Brian Searles in the Rolt RT1 to go across the line from David Dearden. And we missed John Hooney going through, but Craig Thompson recovering to take out P8. Glenn Swarbrick's already crossed the line, and our 10th runner was Bruce Mitchell, unfortunately not able to take the start for Free Formula and FSR. What a cracker of a race. That's 2 from 2. Just shows you the old horsepower versus the new horsepower, and the respect that those guys have got for each other there. They've got different strengths and weaknesses throughout the race and in different parts of the circuit as well. We're going to take another short break. We've got ready for Zach's favourite, the lung-busting XL Cup, coming your way next here at carco.com.au Raceway. .com.au Raceway. This is the XL Cup, and as our leader already coming up towards the bus stop area, the big flow of traffic still exiting pit lane down here. Car number 13 and car number 36 of Leach still just crossing over the start-finish line in pit lane. A fairly impressive bunch of guys. We don't have any females out there anymore. We used to, and yeah, it's good to. We need to see some ladies jumping back in behind the wheel of these XLs. They're a great car. It's a very economical category to get into. It's very heavily controlled. Everybody running the same tyres, the same brakes, the air induction system, and of course with the very few modifications that are made to these cars, it's very affordable for the average person.
Yeah, indeed it is. I mean, I was only fielding a question from some sim racing mates that I'm in regular contact with yesterday, Vaughan, here on the eastern seaboard. They've asked me to, ask around and suss out just how much you've got to fork out to go XL racing. You can spend as much or as little as you like and have just as much fun as those that are spending squillions on this caper at the front end of town. Yes, there's a little bit of a difference between being at the front and being at the back, but the great thing about this category is everybody knows who's been involved in it for, the longest while. It's going on over a decade now of XL racing, of course, is that no matter where you are in this field, you'll have someone to race with. And that goes back to the point we were making during the Heritage Touring Cars. You certainly don't have time to think about getting bored in the XLs. We were denied a grand finish there earlier with the safety car being called for an incident over back at the circuit that caught up the likes of Leach, Cove and Fisher. But at the front, it was Carlos Ambrosio and Zane Rhodes, 1 and 2. That's how they'll line up on the grid. Rhodes had the fastest lap of the race earlier. Jack Coolow's going to start there alongside Dean Hill on the second row. Brett Sheriff and Tristan Moore from row number 3. Then Wagner de Souza and Salvatore Russo from row 4. Great to see. You mentioned it earlier, and I didn't get a chance to elaborate on it. Great to see Jake Pizarros back in a race car. I know he's got some other projects on the hop, skip and jump that he's been working towards, but great to see him back in a trusty little XL. He was there at the Nationals last year in spectator capacity, and I reckon he got some itchy feet about him. He's alongside Nathan Seaton on row 5, David Charnley, Steve McGregor from 6, Harrison Douglas, Cameron Charnley from 7, Harrison Beres and Noah Byrne from 8, and then Robert Toon and John Schultz from 9, Adam Hasty and Jaden Charnley from 10, Paul Cooper, Wesley Lear from 11, Craig Ferreira, and also, of course, Brad Ward from 12. And then you mentioned Anderson Martins. He'll be on row 13, provided that everybody that retired earlier is able to get back out there alongside Christian Clamp. There were 3 DNSs, including Leach, Cove and Fisher. Let's see what comes of race 2. Carlos Ambrosio, the man to beat. He bolted earlier. He spread eagled the field. He was gone. Took off. It'll be interesting to see if he can repeat the serve this time round. We're almost set here, ladies and gentlemen. Grid pretty much ready, in position. As soon as you see that green flag wave, I'll be in starters orders here at carco.com.au Raceway, the WAXL Cup. Race 2 of the day for them. 15 minutes plus 1 lap. We've already burnt 4 minutes in the start procedure process here. That's why.
There we go.
That's
Jake
why.
Fisher. And that's why we've got flashing yellows down here on the start line. So this will be a delayed start, and they have amended this one. The XL Cup here is a 12-minute plus 1 lap. So all eyes on the top of the hill to see where that car is being dragged to. And there goes the 1 minute siren again. So 1 minute to go. They'll probably get another lap here. These cars will not like sitting still. They, like any other car, they require air to go through the radiator. They do have a electric fan on board, but as you can imagine, it's not quite as easy as that. We need airflow coming in through the front of the car as well. See the delayed start sign being held out, I believe. So yellow lights are off now. And having a look towards the top of the circuit, it looks like that stricken car has been pulled into the top of the circuit here at carco.com.au Raceway. Bit of a lull in proceedings at the moment.
You just get antsy. You just get itchy feet, don't you, sitting around waiting for the start?
I'm getting itchy feet up here in the commentary box. We've got a green flag. So, yeah, they will go for another sighting lap. They're just leaving the start-finish line now.
So you get all psyched up, and now you've got to come round and do it all over again.
Yeah, an extra formation lap, which makes a lot of sense because these cars would be fairly warm by now. Just sitting there for that long, that doesn't take very long to start warming up these engines. And of course, then you start blowing head gaskets and water pumps and blowing hoses off, and things get fairly nasty. So a good idea from Motorsport Australia to send them around again. It'll get the tyres another chance to get back up to temperature because they've also lost pressure while they've been sitting there as well. There's the car of Douglas. That's the Malkin car. That's a recently purchased car, and that's had some magic weaved on that car. It never used to go that quick, but now she's a top 10 and maybe even a top 5 in this one. Pick up on Pissarros. I think he's starting out of about 7th or 8th in this one. Nathan Seaton's there. Dave Charnley, Steve McGregor in the Napa Autos car. Harrison Douglas in that car that we were just talking about, the Malkin car number 66. The sky blue. I forget what the actual title of that colour is. I think they said baby blue. It's got a weird name anyway. But he'll be worth keeping an eye on to see whether he can come forward. Salvatore Rosso in car number 10 had an excellent race meeting at the last race meeting here at Carco. So he's moved his way forward compared to where he was in race number 1. So we'll look for car number 10 to come forward as well. You've got Tristan Moore out there in the PlayStation car number 16. He's holding fast in top 5, and right in front of him is Brett Sheriff, multiple state champion in car number 21. The returning driver this weekend, car 53 of Dean Hill in 4th place. Jack Caiulo will start out of 3. Zane Rhodes out of P2 and on pole position for the second race. And after coming off an outstanding race meeting at the last event, it's Carlos Ambrosio. This is where we're used to seeing Carlos up the front of this XL pack. A big field of cars, nearly 30 cars. I think we had 27 from memory. And they're all starting to grid back up again. We are down to 7 minutes and 27 seconds. So we'll probably get a 6 to 7 lap race out of this one. It goes for 12 minutes plus 1 lap. So we're coming down to nearly the halfway mark already.
And that's the other point that we didn't get a chance to make. With that extra formation lap and the delayed start procedure, it's chewed an enormous chunk of time out of the clock here. So if it wasn't already going to be on in earnest, boys, it certainly will be now because there's less time. They're up against the clock to either move forward or defend your position in the top 5 and get the job done. So if it was frantic beforehand, it's going to be on in earnest right now. Ambrosio and Rhodes, the front row. No mucking around this time around. That was a lot quicker formation lap, but still only 6:40 left on the clock. So the more time we spend here on the start-finish line, the more likely we are to lose another lap. We're looking more and more at potentially 6, only maximum 7 laps from here on in, ladies and gentlemen. They're off, they're racing.
And it's Carlos Ambrosio side by side with Zane Rhodes as they head down into turn number 1 for the first time. And Rhodes looking for a run around the outside now, decides that he's going to tuck into the boot lid of Carlos Ambrosio. Then we got Jack Caiulo.
Someone on the grass. and
Trouble.
has a massive tank
Oh,
slapper, but he's able to hold on to it.
Salvatore Russo, and he's just become a mobile chicane as they go up through the bus stop for the first time. And John Schultz gets the wheels up as well. This is not over. This is really close on the way into turn number 4 at the moment. Now still side by side as they start the long climb up and over the top of the hill. But out in front, it's Ambrosio and Rhodes starting to drive away already.
And Ambrosio wasn't given the opportunity to skid clear the way that he did in race 1, boys. They've stayed with him, the chasing pack of Rhodes, Kaulu, and also Hill. Sheriff's in there as well. We noticed that the 3-time champ was moving along quite nicely in race 1 before the yellows were deployed. The rest of the field making their way over the crest down towards turn 7 for the first time. Does Rhodes go and look on the inside? No, he thinks better of it. Tucks in and follows Ambrosio back to the main straight. Giulo's in there as well. Hill, Sheriff, Moore and Souza as they complete the opening lap, and there are only 5 minutes and 8 seconds left on the clock. Line astern, single file, nose to tail formation, but the 14 remains at the top of the field.
Yeah, Zane Rhodes was belting the bumper bar of Carlos Ambrosio, NASCAR style, as they came over the start-finish line. Coyulo in 3rd, Dean Hill for 4th, and then Brett Sheriff. We go back to Tristan Moore in the PlayStation car, but Ambrosio's got 2 of the fastest cars in the field, right in the boot lid now as they head up and over turn number 4 and 5. Ambrosio doing a great job, now starting to get a little bit defensive as Nathan Seaton having a look at Steve McGregor in the Napa Auto car as well. And unfortunately for the Malkin car of Harrison Douglas
Rhodes
has
has
gone
got
backwards.
past Ambrosio.
He has
Rhodes has
too.
taken the lead from Ambrosio, obviously down into turn number 6 there. So Ambrosio has lost his lead. Now he's found himself to be the hunter, going after Zane Rhodes, who's taken the lead. Road one's a little wide there coming onto the main straight, but the top 3 are sort of leaving the rest of the pack behind now as they're sort of skipping away. It's Rhodes from Ambrosio and then Kailu.
And right
Hill
behind
down
them
there on
is
the
Brett
inside of
Sheriff
Sheriff
and
as
Dean
well,
Hill.
Yep, and Hill's got by Sheriff on the inside to 1. The 3-time champ wants to force the issue around the outside, but here comes the 16 of Moore down on his inside as well. Oh boy, 2 battle packs and nowhere to look. You don't know where to look, boys. You've got, it's almost like we need the Channel 7 Mega Walk here at the moment at carco.com.au Raceway. Battle pack for first, a battle pack for fourth, just the way we like it in XL parlance. And Zane Rhodes, the youngster, who was one of the storylines of the Nationals last season, not for the right reasons, unfortunately. He came unstuck on his lid down there in the gravel trap at turn 7, if memory serves me well, in race 1 of the last year's Nationals. He is at the front of the fold. 1 minute 12.4936 last time round, the fastest lap of the race, also the fastest first sector as well. And look at David Charnley, who we're riding on board with there as well, getting the elbows out in the battle further down the pack.
Yeah, I don't know who that was that was trying to run around the outside, but they came off second best as this big battle pack comes over the top of the hill. As we pick up with our leaders now, it's still Zane Rhodes from Jack Coyulo into second. Ambrosio won't be happy back there in 3rd place. And we've got Brett Sheriff, Dean Hill, Tristan Moore, and right behind Tristan Moore was Wagner de Souza in car number 25. Steve McGregor in 8th, Nathan Seaton in 9th, and Jake Passaris hanging on car number 64 for 10th position.
Everywhere you look at the moment, there's just a battle happening. We've got battles up the front, we've got battles in the midfield at the moment. The top 3 are absolutely in a class of their own. Up the front, it's Ambrosio. He's not going to be too happy about having lost 2 positions. He's going to try everything he possibly can to get back at Rhodes and Coyulo.
Over the top of the hill, Salvatore Russo just in front now of Craig Charnley and Harrison Douglas in car number 66 in 13. Harrison Perez, one of our youngest drivers here at Carco Raceway in car number 18, as Zane Rhodes fastest in through sector 2 at the moment. And Coyulo 2 cars off the back of Zane Rhodes, and then we go back another 2 car lengths to Carlos Ambrosio now, as there's some moves starting to happen further back in the pack here. That's Brett Sheriff in car number 21. It moves across. Tristan Moore is going to get held out to dry here by Dean Hill. It runs around the outside, and then Wagner de Souza having a cracker of a race up there in P7 at the moment. He's ready to apply the blowtorch to the back of Dean Hill, who now fights back side by side with the car of 16, Tristan Moore, as they're side by side on the entrance into turn number 4. Tristan Moore outbreaks the blue and white car, and then we go back to Wagner de Souza from Steve McGregor, Nathan Seaton and Jake Passaris holding on for P10, and we are down under 1 minute to go here for race number 2 as car number 31 gets it all wrong and goes out over the sand on turn number 1. That was Ward in car number 31, the orange and black car.
Yeah, Brad Ward.
He just locked up going into turn 1 down there. The top 3 still remain the same. Ambrosio has just dropped back a little bit from Carlo and Rhodes now. Oh, here we go. It's Moore in the PlayStation car. He's driving it like he's on a PlayStation at the moment, trying to keep Hill behind him. He goes over the... Oh, going to be done a little bit for track limits there, but that's allowed Hill all over the back of him. Will Hill have a little dive down the inside? He thinks about it. No, he tucks back in again. So... Moore holds on for at least one more corner, but boy howdy, this is some exciting racing.
Yeah, car 53
and all the meanwhile,
Dean Hill looking very menacing on the back of Tristan Moore now in that PlayStation car as they head up through turn number 4, back to third gear, and Tristan Moore's going to run it right out. He's got a little bit of understeer there on the way out of turn number 4 as we have leaders up and over the top of the hill again, and Dean Hill all over the back of Tristan Moore now, and here comes Wagner de Souza as well in car number 25. You can't discredit him from this event at the moment either. Then we go back to car number 11 of Noah Byrne, having a bit of a lonely run out there by himself, but our leaders already up and over the top of the hill, and it's Zane Rhodes doing a great job out in front.
And Jack Caiulo's in there with him as well. Vaughan, Carlos Ambrosio slipped off that lead pack. And in behind that, the 3-time champs brought himself a little bit of breathing space whilst Moore and Hill have been going at it. Last lap, board in the air. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. One more time around from carco.com.au Raceway. And it looks as though we're going to have 2 different winners in as many races for this final round of the WAXL Cup of 2024. Caiulo will throw everything at Zane Rhodes, but Rhodes has enough breathing space here as they head out along the back of the circuit for the final time. In behind that, Moore still has the advantage, holds sway over Hill, and Sousa's slotted into 7th spot. Brett Sheriff looks as though he's going to have to be content with 4th, 5.9 off the leader, and half a second the advantage at the front for Zane Rhodes as they head down to turn 6 for the final time. 15 minutes has been gone, come and went very, very quickly here, unfortunately, for the XL Cup after that delayed start. But no regrets there for Zane Rhodes, because he's made the most of a shortened race here, and he is going to come down to the last braking zone, the last turn, and see the checkered flag in sight and grab a win at carco.com.au Raceway. Brilliant work from the 73. The checkered flag is his. 2 race winners to start the day. Ambrosio race 1, Rhodes race 2, and Jack Caiulo is bridesmaid yet again. Ambrosio in for 3rd ahead of Sheriff, Moore and Hill, the top 6. Magnificent stuff as per usual, and still the battles continue down the main straight. Look at this!
On the dirt for Charlie there.
Going on there.
3 wide, trying to make it a little bit wider than what we saw in the first race, but yeah, David Charnley, I think he just lost out there.
I'm going to say too, boys, just keep an eye out there. David Charnley not registering with the time scorers at the moment, so there might be a little bit of a transponder issue that I'll have to go back and have a look at, because we rode on board with him at the start and he was nowhere to be seen on the leaderboard, which when we rode on board with him, it was always difficult to work out exactly where the hell he was, because you're looking for, a gauge via the Natsoff timing screen and there's nothing coming through. So there was a little bit of an issue there, but Zane Rhodes too good. 0.6 the winning margin. It felt closer. Caiulo in for 2nd, Ambrosio and Sheriff the top 4. More impressive in 5th, holding off Dean Hill, but again, that battle will rage once more in race 3 a little bit later on.
Certainly will, mate. Next out on the circuit will be the final race of the day for Giant Mandra. These will be the Formula V for the Morton Plate and the BM Graphics Plate. And we'll update you on the point score for that very, very shortly. But don't go home just yet. There's plenty more to come this afternoon with Formula V's next out on the circuit, then historic touring cars, free Formula and FSR. And then we're going to round out the afternoon with another race for Cork Charnley, the XL Cup. Stick around, plenty more to come here at carco.com.au Raceway.
More than 125,000 Australian businesses choose Gallagher as their insurance broker. Gallagher provides insurance solutions to help protect businesses of all shapes and sizes, from cafes to construction zones, transportation to tech, to real estate, and much more. Gallagher is your trusted insurance partner providing
Very good.
Well, as our Formula Vs make their way out onto the circuit, sponsoring this weekend the Gallagher season finale here. You can find out more if you go to ajg.com/AU. And thank you very much to Gallagher and all of their staff for supporting this finale, the 2024 finale here at carco.com.au Raceway. But for the last time today, Formula V's, the 1600s and the 1200s combined, and it will be Paul Moltoni who's taken 2 wins from the first 2 races. In car number 6, he will start on pole position from Jason Fowler for Giant Mandra in car number 10. On the second row, Mason Legg with that new car that he's just purchased. Car number 85 will start out of 3 alongside Rod Lisson, who had a very scary moment with Brett Scarey parked on driver's right on the way up to turn number 5 in the previous race. We got Simon Bate in car number 16, Michael Lloyd in 5, Kathy Lisson for Litech Systems in car number 11, Vinny Paduanu having a good run in car number 69, Ken Wyatt in 55, Matthews in 92, then the Lockett family, Miles in car 14, Andrew in car 41, Renan Sanchez in car number 29, Isaac Scarey, car number 44, Dave Campbell fighting back from that rear of field start in race number 2, He's in 15. Then we have Alan in car number 9. The two gals, car number 32 and 18. Then Wilkins, Brett Scary in car number 4. Connor Welsh, and then Yo Lamont and Jonathan Scary. It remains to be seen whether those last 3 cars will make it to the start line for this one. The last race. This is the Morton Plate and BM Graphics Plate. Round number 6 brought to you by Gallagher. And as I said, you can visit ajg.com/au. Check out all of what services that Gallagher can provide for you and your company with Moltoni and Fowler. This is going to be a ripper, Zane.
It certainly is. We've also got the championship to worry about in the I think in the 1600 class. And it's going to be interesting because Paul Moltoni is ahead of Mason Legg by 1 point.
That was at the start of the race meeting?
That was at the start of the race meeting. So I believe Moltoni has probably etched his...
12, he's 13 points in front coming into this last one.
He's probably, yes, he has etched it out a little bit now, so...
But the interesting one is for the 1200s, because Jonathan Scary looks like he's out. April Welsh is not here. Callum Lamont's had engine issues this morning, so it comes down to the family. Andrew Lockett and Miles Lockett, and the beginning of the day today, Andrew was 10 points in front of Miles. So we'll see what happens in race number 3. It's going to be a very close call, and we're missing some cars off the front here. Who's starting on? We're missing Rod Lisson in car number 71, but a good start for Jason Fowler and Paul Moltoni. Moltoni will hang on to P1 as they head down into turn number 1 for the first time. Mason Legg will be in 3, and as we said, we are missing car number 71, and there goes a spin for I think that was Mason, sorry, it wasn't Mason Legg, that was the giant Mandra car. Yes, it was. It was Jason Fowler that got it all sideways on the exit of turn number 1. Then we got Simon Bate there in car number 16. Behind him was Lloyd, Lisson, Patawadu, Ken Wyatt and Matthews in car number 92. We'll try and pick up on our 1200s as they come over the top of the hill for the first time. But that's really spread the field out big time.
Certainly has. I mean, Paul Moltoni now, he's really gapped them, and now is as well with Rod Lisson not being there. Yeah, he is showing up not on our screen, so he has not made it out for this race.
Looks like Brett Scary is not out there as well in car number 4, so that's one of the 3 Scary cars not participating in this final event for the Formula Vs for 2024, but it's Moltoni and Mason Legg. They've got a good lead now over Jason Fowler, and behind him is Lloyd. Panawadu has moved right up into P5, Kathy Lisson up into 6, Ken Wyatt and Matthews are 7 and 8. Then the 2 Locketts, that's where the battle will be. Father versus son, and father in front of son at the moment for 9th and 10th. Then Renan Sanchez. Dave Campbell's made another 3 spots up from 15 up to 12. Isaac Scary in car number 44 in 13. Campbell Gow in 14. Allen 15. Connor Welsh in 16. Wilkins in 17, and Gow, the second of the Gow cars, car number 18, is our last of our runners there in position 18. But look at that list: Lisson, Bate, Brett Scary, Yo Lamont and Jonathan Scary, all not taking part in this one.
No, it's a bit of a shame that they can't join us here for the final race, but they're still going strong up the front. Moltoni and Legg trying to gap the rest of the field, really. They've put a big gap over Fowler now. The Moltoni is not having it all his own way. Legg is right behind him. He's only got about 1/10 or 2/10 between the two of them. So let's see what Legg can do when he gets up to Moltoni.
That is learning with this car. It's a brand new car. This is the first time it's been out on the Carco Raceway circuit. So we're trying to pick up on our 1200s, and it still looks like it's... Oh, it looks like Miles Lockett. Where is Miles? No, Miles is there, and from Andrew Lockett, and Isaac Scary running in 3rd for the 1200cc category at the moment. I can see the Scary family over there in the middle, and be wishing him on big time in car number 44 of young Isaac Scary, doing a great job keeping the family name alive on this trophy, hopefully. And see what happens. Can he move up another couple of positions and go and battle with Andrew and Miles? But here's our leader now, coming under attack from Mason Legg as they go side by side over the stripe. Mason Legg looks like he's got a good run, but just not quick enough to get down in front of Paul Moltoni. Moltoni pulls away on the exit of turn number 1. There's 1 car length between these guys, and then we go back a long way to Jason Fowler in the blue Giant Mandra car, and behind him is Lloyd Padawanu, Kenny Wyatt, and I can't see Rod Lisson. There I can see Kathy Lisson is the back of that 5-car field as they head up through turn number 4 and across the top of the hill. But where are our 1200cc runners? They must be just gone over the top of the hill. There's Dave Campbell, and he's got Connor Welsh and Bruce Allen in car number 9 right behind him. That was 14 and 15. Pick up on our leaders now, and this is getting very, very tasty as they come down into turn number 7. Moltoni on the inside, Mason Legg to driver's left. Gonna do the over and under here on Paul Moltoni. Oh, Moltoni and Mason Legg have had contact, and Mason Legg has spun the car twice on the main straight, and he'll be kicking himself. That's allowed Jason Fowler to go through. Mason regains 3rd place. But another battle happening here with 16, and that would be Vinny Panawanu, Ken Wyatt and Kathy Lisson having a great battle down there into turn number 1.
Yeah, I saw Mason Legg. He was not very happy with Paul Moltoni. He was giving a bit of a wave to him as they came across the strike, but yeah, that's motor racing sometimes, unfortunately.
So there's our 1200cc leader in Miles Lockett going through turn number 4, and Andrew Lockett is the 2nd car. We've got Dave Campbell in the sky blue car, then Andrew Lockett and young Isaac Scary, not too far off the back of Andrew Lockett. So head down and try and do something, work together and see whether they can catch up Miles Lockett in car number 14.
They're definitely going to give it a go. They know that they can reel him in, so they're going to try and do that. Here they go.
Yep. Leaders across the line already, Moltoni and Fowler, and Mason Legg. He'd be absolutely fuming under the lid of that helmet. Then we've got this great battle with coming through was Lloyd Panawanu. Kenny Wyatt's moved up a position, knocking Panawanu and Kathy Lisson down to 6th and 7th. Renan Sanchez 9th, Matthews in car 92 in 9, and then we have the first of the 1200s. Miles Lockett from Andrew Lockett. Dave Campbell still sitting in 12th place, and Isaac Scary hanging on for 3rd place at the moment for the 1200s as we count down. Under 2 minutes remaining here for the last race of the day for the Morton plate and the BM Graphics plate for Formula V.
The thing about these sprint races is you've got to make sure you go for your positions, and you've got to go for your positions quick, because if something goes a little bit wrong, for instance, we get a safety car or like Mason Legg, you get spun off, then, well, you're going to not have a lot of time to catch back up again.
Definitely not. Look at Kathy Lisson all over the back of Vinny Panawanu, and I think that's Kenny Wyatt in car number 55 as they come down into turn number 7. They form a single line on the entry. That's definitely Vinny Panawanu in the red car. As they come across the line, it's car 55 of Ken Wyatt and Kathy Lisson. Fast man across the top of the hill this time was Jason Fowler, and he's gone 0.3 of a second quicker than Moltoni. So the gap is definitely closing between 1st and 2nd. We are down under a minute remaining, 50 seconds remaining here. Can they get back to the start line and reel off another lap?
And on that lap, Fowler was actually faster. By about 5/10. So gap is coming down, but the question is, will he have enough time?
They've got to try and get back here before the countdown runs down. We've still got 32 seconds remaining, and Jason Fowler going on with it too now with a 51.6 across the second sector. So very, very close. Here they come out onto the main straight, and this is going to be Moltoni and car 10 of Jason Fowler. So I'm wondering what happened to Paul Moltoni. He's lost a heap of road between himself, and there's the move on from Jason Fowler in car number 10 for Giant Mandra. Takes over the point from Paul Moltoni, trying to fight back. And look at these big gaggle of cars. Mason Legg still hanging on for third, but behind him it's Lloyd, Panuatu, Kenny Wyatt, Kathy Lisson. Then we got Sanchez and Matthews, and there's the first of the 1200s, Miles Lockett, Dave Campbell going through, Andrew Lockett, and young Isaac Scary still hanging in there for third place.
It's all happening here in Formula V, and now the leaders have just caught up to a back marker. Yep, it's Fowler's still leading. Moltoni just a little further behind than he probably would like to be. He's coming up alongside. No, that's him passing the back marker. So they've just got one lap to go when they come round, and then that'll be the checkered flag. So Fowler is going to try and hold on for everything he can on this last lap.
Paul Moltoni's run really wide and gets two wheels up and over the ripple strip. Tries to close in onto the back of Jason Fowler, but Fowler still 2 to 3 car lengths in front as they head down into turn number 1 for the last time. Fowler lets the car drift right out to driver's left on the exit of turn number 1, gets full RPM out of turn number 1 through 2 and 3, and look at Moltoni fighting back here into turn number 4, gets right into the gearbox this time of Jason Fowler. He's not finished with Fowler as they go across and out of our sight. Where are the 1200s? There they are, and it's Miles Lockett still in front now. He's just gone through. Andrew Lockett in second, and Isaac Scary holding on for third. What a great battle for our 1200s as well. We always kind of see the 1600s because they're at the front of the field, but you can't ever forget the 1200s. They put on some sensational racing, as can be demonstrated by this today, as Moltoni goes to the outside of Fowler, drives past him down driver's left. Who's going to be late on the brakes? It's going to be Moltoni, gets it sideways, and so does Fowler. I think Fowler is not going to be able to do it. Moltoni will take the win in car number 6 from a great hard-charging Jason Fowler in second position. Mason Legg, unfortunately they had that spin earlier in the race. He will take out third place. A good battle here between Kathy Lisson and car number 5 of Lloyd. And that looks like, sorry, it wasn't Kathy Lisson. It was Lloyd and Kenny Wyatt. Vinnie Paduanu and Kathy Lisson coming through for 7th. Sanchez in 8th. Let's have a look what happens here with our 1200s. Here's the winner of the 1200s, Miles Lockett, and boy is he happy as he got arms up and out of the cockpit. Andrew Lockett will take out second place, and young Isaac Scary, a well-deserved third position to keep the family tradition alive of keeping names on trophies and being right up at the pointy end of the field as father and son shake hands and congratulate each other as they head up through the bus stop there. A great piece of driving by both of our 1200cc's. But at the end of the day, for our 1600s, taking home the Morton Cup will be Paul Moltoni, and the winner of the BM Graphics Cup will be Miles Lockett. How'd you like that one, Zach?
That was pretty enthusiastic, Vaughan. That was quite a race.
Yeah, that's what Formula V racing is all about. And unfortunately, we lost Rod Lisson from that event, and also Brett Scary. Brett Scary is a stalwart in Formula Vs and normally is right up towards the front of a field, particularly at a big trophy event like today. Yeah, there's some sorry stories there. Alan Yeo, Callum Lamont, unfortunately, and Jonathan Scary, car number 23. So obviously a few engine dramas earlier on in the day, and curtailed their weekend here to round out what has been a sensational season for 2024 for our Formula Vs. of course, brought to you by Giant Mandurah all year, and we thank Giant Mandurah for their great support of a fantastic category of racing. Looking forward to the sponsors night coming up in a couple of weeks. You get to jump in and actually go for a drive in these cars. It's going to be awesome. Good fun. We're going to take a short break. Historic touring cars to round out 2024. Their season comes to an end very, very shortly here at carco.com.au Raceway. Stick around, plenty more to come.
More than 125,000 Australian businesses choose Gallagher as their insurance broker. Gallagher provides insurance
I can't hear a thing.
of all shapes and sizes.
I'm not sure if they can. They can hear me, but I'm not sure if they can see me. That's the problem.
To help you face tomorrow with confidence, visit ajg.com/au for more info. Well, for the last time in 2024 here at Carco Raceway, the historic touring cars.
Panorama when it was a real race. I got to be careful what I say. Last weekend was a little bit out of the ordinary, but it was a very, well, to use somebody else's words, it was a boring race. And this was the day that it was really good, when little minis could take it right up to the Holden Monaros and the all of the other V8 powered cars there. You would think that they'd lose out, but they used to catch up so quickly going across the top of the mountain where the big cars had to be careful. These little minis, they were just all over them. And then, of course, down in the braking area, coming into Murray's Corner for the last time, under brakes, the little minis would just scoop up so much distance between the car in front. And just having a look out the back of our commentary box, Greg Barr, he's not going to start this one. His car is still up at the shed at the back of the paddock area. So unfortunately for Greg Barr, not going to happen this time. So that will put Peter Piscaneri on the front row by himself. On the second row will be Simon Northey and Stuart Young. Then Randall Beavis alongside Mitch Evans, Paul Onofaro in car number 112, the little green Mini, the second of the Minis. And then we have Ian Brown, Wendy Cover, and I don't know whether we'll see Michael Vandenright in car number 101 and John Bondi as well. Looks like Bondi's car is out there, and it could be Michael Vandenright down towards the back of the field as well. So it's great that they've been able to get those cars turned around and ready for this, their last event here at Carco Raceway for season 2024.
Yeah, if you actually look at the Minis, they're actually the most dominant car ever at Bathurst. They filled almost the entire top 10 in the 1966 event. But then, of course, the V8 came on not long after that, and, well, the Minis just unfortunately couldn't really keep up with them. But they're here today, and they're going to give the V8s a proper run for their money, shall we say.
Certainly would, as we saw at the last race meeting with Nick Swift over from England. He took it right up to the Chevrolet Camaro, which unfortunately is not here, with Clint Rayner behind the wheel, and also Peter Piscaneri, and had some great battles with our local hotshot in Conno Onofaro. So our historic touring cars for Moylan Grain Silos out of Calabarin. We got red lights, and we are go for the last time here in 2024. Young gets a really good start. He's going to go up into second maybe, although Northey now gets the power of that Mustang and blows straight up the inside. And Mitch Evans, unfortunately for the Mini, he's pulled straight off onto the grassed area as well. So an issue, whether it's a, oh no, he's got the car going again and back onto the circuit. He's going to come out right behind Wendy Cover in the EH Holden. But up the front, it's Piscaneri driving away from Simon Northey, Stuart Young and Paul Onofaro having a great run now up into P4.
Yeah, I think he just got a bit of a hip and shoulder there, and his Mini sort of got swatted off the road. if you like, because the bigger cars are sort of like, get out of the way, this is our turf. But the Mini is obviously a stronger car than that. He's joined the field, and now he's going to go back on the attack again.
Having a look at them coming out of turn number 6 and waiting to see whether we've got an onboard camera in this one or it may be in the next event. We'll have to wait and see, but it's all Peter Piscaneri at the moment. We see Ian Brown in the blue and red and white Cortina. But here comes Piscaneri, car number 18, out of Brunswick in southwest of Western Australia, has the lead from Simon Northey, Stuart Young, and then a great battle with John Bondi now starting to fight back. He goes right up the inside of Paul Onofaro, and he has Randall Beavis in his sights now. He will be the next car, but Bondi will blow the tyres off this Monaro very quickly if he keeps this speed up. Got to try and keep these big heavy cars as straight as possible. If you start to overheat the tyres, they don't come back. They get worse and worse and worse. So keep your eye on car number 89 of John Bondi as he tries to pick off Randall Beavis as they, again, sideways around turn number 4, and Bondi will be spewing that the car's doing that already. He's trying to push that car very, very hard to get in front of Randall Beavis, but all he's going to do in the next couple of laps is go backwards when his tyres overheat. And again, sideways out of turn number 6, Bondi is trying big time.
He has. He's got Randall Beavis in his sights coming over the hill. He's about to make short work of the Capri, and he does, coming down into turn number 7. So that just goes to show you the difference between a little 3-litre and a big 5-litre V8 under the bonnet of the Bondi Monaro, fluoro orange Bondi Monaro.
He's having a look to see whether Randall Beavis was going to be able to fight back, but no, he's just going to tuck in behind the back of Bondi. And if Randall's smart, he'll just sit there and watch Bondi go backwards very, very shortly. Bondi's really pushing this Monaro to get back up onto the tail of Stuart Young and Simon Northey in second. And then we got our leader out in front, as I said, from Brunswick out of the southwest of Western Australia. And there's a mistake there from John Bondi. The car understeering and pushing right out wide towards the concrete strip, the apron out there on turn number 4. So those tyres starting to protest early. We still have 5.5 minutes remaining here in this one as Piscaneri gets it all sideways on the exit of turn number 6 as well. Bondi super sideways on the exit of 6 as well. And Randall Beavis keeping that Capri in a beautiful straight line like it's on rails. He's looking after his tyres at the moment. So look for a charge from the Capri coming very, very shortly.
Yeah, and I also just saw Wendy Cover. She pulled into the pits at the end of that previous lap, so her race has ended a little bit earlier than she anticipated, but she was here and she did a very good job in the earlier races. But Randall Beavis now, he just gets a little closer to the back of the Monaro when it gets to the corners, because Bondi is working the tyres very hard on that car. So I don't know how much rubber he's going to have left under him at the end of this race. Probably not a lot.
Not a lot. You can see the car starting to move around already as Piscaneri, a beautiful power slide through turn number 5. Stuart Young keeping the car nice and straight, but you can see that the licorice marks left behind by John Bondi as he came through turn number 5. A great run for Paul Onofaro at the moment, sitting in P6 in car number 112. And Simon Northey, there's the two differences between those Monaros, Mustangs, sorry, is that Piscaneri's got his a little bit sideways. He can probably afford to. He's got a bit of a margin between himself and Simon Northey. And Simon keeping his car nice and straight as they come out onto the Carco Raceway main straight. And Bondi starting to make some inroads onto the back of Stuart Young, but he is very, very taily. So I don't know if he's going to be able to go on with this. He closes up under brakes on the way into turn number 1. And we'll see what happens with Bondi. Yeah, again, he's run out. Stuart Young has lost the model in turn number 1, and that's allowed Bondi to be gifted 3rd place. So Stuart Young getting the Tirana back onto the circuit. He's lost 2 positions to Randall Beavis and Paul Onofaro, and a long way back to Mitch Evans. So Mitch Evans won't be a problem for Stuart Young at the moment.
No, he certainly won't be. I think Stuart Young will be very, very angry with himself for making a mistake like that. He just ran off and looped the loop and just gifted Bondi 3rd on the podium. So you really got to make sure if you want to finish, first you have to finish.
That's right. That's the old saying in motorsport. As Peter Piscaneri comes out of turn number 7 now, Simon Northey still doing a great job in second place at the moment. Then we go back to the orange HK Monaro of John Bondi, and then not too far behind him is Randall Beavis. I don't think Randall's got enough in the tank to take it up to the Bondi Monaro. And next across the line will be Paul Onofaro in a car that's done a lot of laps around the Collie Motorplex in a 24-hour race just recently. Then Stuart Young recovering from that spin on the exit of turn number 1, and Mitch Evans also recovering from going off the road and onto the grass on the start of this event. This is the last race of the year for our historic touring cars as Ian Brown comes across the line. 8 runners left out on the circuit, and Ian Brown in the Cortina is the last of our runners in P8.
A little bit of a race of attrition, but that's just, as Zach was saying in the previous race, these older cars, they're a little bit more weary. They tend to have a few more problems, and they're also a little bit more difficult to drive. So if you make a mistake in them, you're likely going to pay the price.
Definitely are, and you see Peter Piscaneri now sideways coming out of turn number 7, accelerates over the line. We have 1 minute and 42 seconds remaining. Simon Northey not letting Piscaneri get away by that much, but there's a bit of a gap now. It's over 1.5 seconds now back to Northey. Then we go back to John Bondi and Randall Beavis. Paul Onofaro just coming across the start-finish line now. You can see that Peter Piscaneri still trying, gets it up on 2 wheels over the bus stop there, and drifts the car a little bit wide on the entry into turn number 4. Now smartens it up across the top of the hill there, keeps it off the ripple strip. That's the filling breaker. We call that one over there on the top of turn 5. If you run wide, this thing just shakes you right out of the car. It shakes the fillings right out of your head too, as Simon Northey can't do anything about Peter Piscaneri. Over 2 seconds now is the difference between Piscaneri and Northey, and just to cement his dominance, Peter Piscaneri goes fastest in sector 1 and 2 on this lap.
We've got 45 seconds remaining in this race, which means we've probably got 2 laps left to go. Piscaneri absolutely dominant this weekend. He's just had very little competition up the front. He is just, all his rivals have just sort of faltered, but he's kept his head cool. His car is still going strong, and even though Northey is not letting him get away, the gap is a little too big for him to make an attack on him. Bondi's still there in 3rd though, so anything can happen.
Well, you see Randall Beavis is starting to fall away now from the back of John Bondi, which is a bit of a surprise, although John seems to be driving the car a lot more straighter now towards the back end of this race. As you said, we've got 2 laps to go. They'll get the last lap board this next time through. We're now down into minus of our 12 minutes, and Piscaneri again sideways through the apex of turn number 6, just stands on the loud pedal and drives it out with 2 beautiful licorice straps left behind on the carco.com.au race circuit as he comes down in towards turn number 7. Simon Northey a good 150 metres behind him now. Then we have John Bondi still coming down into the braking zone at turn 7. And then you can't even see Randall Beavis. Here comes Randall now, and I think there's a problem on board the Capri. Doesn't look to be motoring like it was previously. So Paul Onofaro, he's going to take over P4 from Randall Beavis very shortly. Yep, Randall's decided to bring that into the paddock area as well. So a good result coming up for Paul Onofaro. Last lap board on display. Last lap for historic touring cars for 2024.
Yeah, what a race it's been, or what a whole 3 races they've put on for us today, the historic touring cars. They say there's no substitute for cubic feet, well, or cubic inches rather, but the little cars such as the Minis have proven that if you want to get a good result, you just got to make sure you keep on trucking. But Piscaneri has definitely kept on going, and he's going to make it a clean sweep of the round so far.
Certainly is, and orange juice is the only thing that comes in 2 litres. As Peter Piscaneri making his way down into turn number 7 for the last time. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. 3 from 3 for Peter Piscaneri from Brunswick down there in the southwest, and John Bondi lights the car up. He'll take home 3rd. Simon Northey snuck home for 2nd. And the John Bondi car not sounding that flash as it came across the line. And then a long way back now will be Paul Onofaro. I don't think Stuart Young's got enough in that GTR Tirana to overtake him in the next 150 metres. So Onofaro will take out 4th position. That's probably his best drive here at Carco for quite some time. Stuart Young in 5th. Mitch Evans comes across the line to take out 6th. And that will leave Ian Brown, if he is still out on the circuit.
No,
he's gone. No, he's gone. He went a lap earlier. And then Randall Beavis, of course, went on the previous lap as well. And Wendy Cover, Greg Barr didn't start the race, and Michael Vandenright as well. So we missed Paul Vandenright in that event as well. So yes, a bit of an attrition race, but that is historic touring cars. There goes Ian Brown now in car number 92. Mark 1 GT 500 Cortina. Of course, that was a Bathurst winner back in the day with Bob Jane behind the wheel.
Yes, and Harry Firth.
And Harry Firth, yep. Very good.
Yeah, the old Fox, I believe he was nicknamed.
He was. So Piscaneri takes the win from Simon Northey and John Bondi. That's how they round out historic touring cars for 2024. We're going to take a very short break. Our next race, Free Formula and FSR. Can Stuart Burns do anything about Bill Norman in that beautiful red Rolt RT4? Stick around to find out. This is carco.com.au Raceway.
More than 125,000 Australian businesses choose Gallagher as their insurance broker. Gallagher provides insurance solutions to help protect businesses of all shapes and sizes, from cafes to construction sites, transportation to tech, farming to real estate, and much more. Gallagher is your trusted insurance partner, providing expertise and support to help you face tomorrow with confidence. Visit ajg.com/au for more info. Carco, Western Australia's multifaceted dealership that features used car sales, car finance and insurance, consignment, vehicle parts and service, plus an indoor radio control car.
I can't hear a thing.
Find out more at www.crushingservicesaustralia.com. Being behind the wheel is easier than you think. West Australian Sporting Car Club has memberships for any budget and any experience. Join today at wascc.com.au.
Excuse me.
Well, for the last time for their season in 2024, this is Free Formula and FSR. And of course, these guys in the Free Formula racing for the Bob Creasy Trophy. And I believe we'll have a quick grid trophy presentation at the conclusion of this one. Coming into this weekend, Simon Alderson was leading the championship on 240 points. He's not here today. David Dearden was the closest competitor to him on 169 points, so he's been clocking up some points today, but probably not enough to beat Simon Alderson. So it looks like Simon will take out the championship for Free Formula for the WA Sporting Car Club. Bill Norman started the day on 138. He's had a win and a second, so he and David Dearden are fighting it out for second and third place. Lance Carwadine, car number 18, he was only 4 points behind Bill Norman as well. Brian Searles was only a further 6 points behind, so this one's going to go right down to the wire. Zach?
Indeed it is, Vaughan. And isn't it interesting, though, because of the nature of grassroots amateur motorsport, and we talk about it all the time, some of these guys are only able to commit to the full season due to, you know, a vast array of different circumstances, family, real world, work, personal, whatever the case may be. So from what you've just been talking about there, it's rather interesting that our incumbent championship leader might have been able to miss the final round and still hold on to the crown. Should be a good race, though, this one. I mean, the battle throughout the course of the day, we've been saying it right from the outset. It's been really the centrepiece of Free Formula throughout the course of the day. Norman and Burns, and Norman 2 from 2, but by G, Burns gave him a tremendous run for his money earlier.
He certainly did, and I must stress that all of these results that we have given today are provisional, and they will be clarified by Motorsport Australia prior to the trophy presentation and at the end of the year. Of course, that's what are they calling it, the final, I forgot the name of it, but it's going to be a big presentation day as per usual for the West Australian Sporting Car Club. And you can check the socials on all of that. And we've got a great camera on board with Stuart Burns. So this should be really good footage coming up very shortly, Zane, sorry.
Will be. Yep.
That's all right. Here we go. They've got 2x2 as we're coming down into turn number 7. Safety car is peeled off. It's going to be Norman on the right and Burns on the left. So Norman will have the inside line as we start. And the lights are off and they're off and racing.
Side by side down into turn number 1, and Derek Burns is looking very hungry there in third place at the moment as well. Doesn't want to get in the way of his son Stuart as Stuart sets off behind the back of the Rolt RT4. Now, if this goes to the previous 2 laps, we'll see Bill Norman move away in the Rolt RT4, the red car out in front. He's starting to do that already. And then in 2 or 3 laps time, we'll see Stuart Burns start to close that gap. Midway through this 12-minute plus 1 lap race, we'll see a good battle. And let's see who comes out with a checkered flag at the end of 12 minutes and 1 lap. We've got 8 minutes remaining here for the final FSR and Free Formula race here at Carco Raceway.
Yes, it's all happening here at the front. We've got Norman just ahead of Burns, Stuart Burns. Burns is actually a lot closer to Norman than he was in the previous 2 races this early in the race, but he is radical. He has a tendency to take its time to build up its tyre temp, and there we go. There's Norman just getting away just a little bit, and we go on board with Stuart Burns right now. Yep, he's just hugging the inside line, and then you just let it go out, and then you've got to go back to the right again. Turn 4 is the only left-hander on this entire track because everything else goes back to the right again. Down into turn number 6, and you can just see that Bill Norman just gets away because he's just got that more tyre temperature than the Radical at the moment.
So you're looking at a 1600cc engine in the Rolt RT4 and a 1400cc motorcycle engine, chain driven, for the Radical SR3 of Stuart Burns, and of course Derek Burns running in third place in the orange, the second of the FSR cars. And Derek sitting on the left-hand side, Stuart sitting on the right-hand side, and that's what makes these cars so versatile. They are great for coaching. You can come and do a course up here at the Arise Racing, and you'll have a coach sitting alongside of you, and through your helmet-to-helmet communications, you'll be taught how to go quickly around carco.com.au raceway. If that interests you, go and see the guys up the back of the paddock area, and they're called Arise Racing. And look at this battle over there with Brian Searles in the Rolt RT1, and also Craig Thompson, as our leaders already starting to come out of the bowl, and it's still Bill Norman by a good 5 or 6 car lengths over Stuart Burns, a 58.97 for Bill Norman, but Stuart Burns grabs the fastest lap time over the top of the hill by 2/100ths of a second. So it looks like Stuart Burns is starting to see this familiar charge as he tries to get on the back of Bill Norman.
And a lot earlier in the race than what it was earlier on, boys, as well. He's just punched out a 58.83.
What was that, mate? 58.83, yep.
Yeah, fastest lap of the race now for Burns in pursuit of Norman. Just looking at the clock as well, 5:22 left on the clock, so that leads me towards 6 laps plus 1 more once time expires. So still plenty of racing to play out here. Norman hasn't got away anywhere near as much as what he did in race 2, and that could well work in Burns' favour, particularly when, Zane, we get towards the point of the race where they encounter lap traffic. That's been a prevalent part of the narrative of both races thus far.
That it has been, Zach, but at the moment they're all on their own at the front, Bill Norman and Stuart Burns. Burns' car, he's just come up to temperature a little bit more now, because he's just getting into it. In the previous lap, he had the fastest lap of the race, but now Bill Norman's taken it off him. 58.4 meets Burns is 58.7, so he was 0.3 of a second faster on that previous lap.
And this is what we talked about earlier on this morning, Zane, was that an increase or a decrease in tyre pressure can have so much of a difference. I would reckon that the boys have not only tuned that suspension up on Stuart Burns' car, but they've also made a tyre pressure adjustment, and that's allowed him to stay a lot closer on race number 3 and not let Bill Norman get away so much.
And yet again, this battle here
Searles
as well, boys.
What was
Thompson
that, Zach?
and Searles, yeah. Thompson and Searles. I was going right in the same direction you were, Vaughan. Thompson and Searles, they've been separated by a coat of varnish or a handkerchief. You know, pick your description whichever way you please, ladies and gentlemen, for much of the day as well. So it's not just been the battle at the front that's caught our eye. It's also been this one, and even the Carwadine and Herning battle as well. I mean, Carwadine's got the edge there at the moment by a rather comfortable margin, but Thompson and Searles only half a second in that as well, 0.6 the margin at the front. And Norman, so this is an indication, and you guys are closer to the action, you're on the ground, you might be able to give us a little bit more intel here. But it feels as though the track's getting better as the day goes on, because the times are coming down. 58.48 for Norman last time round, which was a scintillating lap time. It's fast front of the day, I think I'm right in saying.
Well, we've still got a little bit of cloud cover here, so there's no direct sunshine on the circuit at the moment, which is good, because the more UV is hitting the circuit, the softer that rubber gets that's already laid out there, and it starts to get greasy. So, yeah, you could be right, mate, but just picking up on our leaders at the moment, they're coming out of turn number 7, and they are side by side. Stuart Burns is looking for a run down the inside of Bill Norman as they go down into turn number 1, and they're coming up on David Dearden in the Formula Ford. David moves over and allows Bill Norman through. Stuart Burns goes through unimpeded as well. There's 2 car lengths difference now as they head up through the bus stop, and keeping all 4 wheels off the ripple strip over there. We normally see sedan cars jump that curb over there, but these cars being so tightly sprung, they are very, very stiff. If they hit those ripple strips, that really throws them around, and they lose their forward momentum very, very quickly. So it is all on here between Bill Norman and Stuart Burns. 0.2 of a second separating them last time across the stripe. Down into turn number 7, it looks like Stuart Burns is getting very, very hungry here. They've got another 2 lap cars in front of them. Bill Norman not able to get across this time. This is for the lead. Stuart Burns, car number 31, should go down into turn number 1 in the lead, and they've just got to watch these two slower cars. That's Brian Searles in the Rolt RT1 is the next car that they're going to come up on, and then Craig Thompson in car number 182. Brian will be looking in his mirrors at the moment. He's going to make the guys run around the outside, which is the correct thing to do. The faster cars will find a way through, and Stuart Burns already through on Brian Searles. Now he's got to worry about Craig Thompson in 182. Can he get past unimpeded? And it's a great bit of work from Craig Thompson. Stays right over to driver's left and allows Burns to go through. And unfortunately for Bill, he's been caught up there. He's been balked by Craig Thompson, and that's going to allow Stuart Burns now to drive away by some 50 to 60 metres.
Yes, good job there for both Searles and Thompson. Both made sure that the Burns, Radical and Norman didn't trip up over them as they were coming back through the twisty section of the track over at the top, over at near the bowl area. We've only got 37 seconds in this race left, so that means we've got 2 more laps to go. At the moment, though, it looks as if Norman, he's just been gapped a little bit by Burns. He closes up when he gets to turn 4, but when they were coming down the hill, it just looked like Burns had a little bit more legs.
Wait to see what happens on this one. We've 58.4 for Bill Norman, so Bill has still got plenty in the tank at the moment. That was set earlier, and he's lining up on Stuart Burns again. He's right under the rear airfoil of Stuart Burns, and both of the cars come right out onto the concrete apron. Bill Norman looking down driver's left at the moment. I don't think he's going to be able to get through. These radicals can stop on a 10-cent piece. And as we see, Stuart Burns drifts the car right out to driver's left, then turns it in, gets all defensive now. Now we go on board with Stuart Burns. This will give you a great opportunity of what it's like. And we've just seen the last lap board coming out from race control down into turn number 1. Burns has run wide. Bill looks up the inside and drives away from him out of turn number 1. A great piece of driving from Bill Norman to retake the lead on the last lap.
That was brilliant driving from Bill Norman. He saw that Stuart Burns just went a little bit wide there at turn 1, and when he did, he was there to pounce and take back the lead.
Out
and not for the first time today either, boys.
Yes, mate. Yeah, it's all happening here down into the bowl with Bill Norman. He's going to make every post a winner here as Stuart Burns gets a good run out of turn number 6, lets the car float out of turn number 6, gets into the slipstream, but I think he's too far back, and he's a good 25 metres back. He won't be able to outbrake the Rolt RT4 from back there. And just to make sure of it, Bill Norman really late on the brakes. Here's a last lap charge from Stuart Burns, but it's not going to be enough. Your winner for today is car number 3 of Bill Norman over Stuart Burns in car number 31. Derek Burns, car number 23, will take out 3rd place. And then this great battle further back with Lance Carwadine, and he's really got away from John Hurney coming over the hill now in car number 50. But some great onboard shots given to us today from Stuart Burns in that beautiful Radical, the FSR, as he thanks all of our flag marshals on the way through. That was brought to you by Gallagher, and if you'd like to check out more, it's ajg.com/AU to check out Gallagher.
Wow.
Still
winning
coming
margin
across the
again.
line. This will be car number 29 of Glenn Swarbrick. Car number 29, the Macon, and he will be the last across the line. That's 9 cars finishing, and I don't think we've lost we have lost 1 car in 3 races.
Yes, they were actually, they all behaved themselves in that one. They did quite a good job. They all made sure that they all crossed the line evenly. They all did a fantastic job, but I also saw Bill Norman and Stuart Burns as they came across the line. They gave each other a wave as if to say great racing to the other guy. They were very fair, and at the end of the day, it was just Norman that came out best.
Yeah, it was great racing and great respect shown by both of the drivers. We're going to wait and see what happens here. And yes, they are coming down. So I'm going to quickly run downstairs. We'll give a trophy presentation very, very shortly here at Carco. Stick around.
Carco.com.au Raceway. And I've got Zach with me here to just debrief what we had all just witnessed in that last race. How are you doing, Zach? What have you thought of today's action?
Zane, I'm well. How are you? Nice to have everybody on board as per usual. I think we both got the talk memo at the same time, mate. So we went and we were over the top of one another, but that's okay. Great to have you on board. Not so much worried about how I'm enjoying today because it's been a barrel lot of fun from my end, even though I'm 3,500 kilometres away from the action, and I've enjoyed what I've watched thus far. Some great racing today, and it whets the appetite for the categories that are coming in tomorrow. From your standpoint, though, mate, you're the debutant. I'm familiar with the caper over here on the eastern seaboard. What have you made of the day? What's been your highlight before my highlight of the day makes its way out onto the racetrack?
Well, I think just making my commentary debut here today has been pretty good. I've had a bit of a trial by fire, and that not everything has gone 100% according to plan, but we've all got through it, and we've all enjoyed it, and everyone here has definitely enjoyed it. You'll have to come and join us at some stage in the near future, Zach, in person.
Don't worry.
As,
It's on the to-do list.
It's definitely on the to-do list, yes.
Yeah.
My favourite category that we've seen today has probably got to be the historic touring cars. They're absolute dynamite races.
Yeah, well,
And,
I can just add
Vaughan's
that
just
the
sliding back
whole
in beside you.
program so far on our Super Saturday has just been really good. Can't wait for tomorrow. We're kicking off again 8:30 tomorrow morning. So, Zach, hopefully you can join us again tomorrow, 11:30 your time, although I don't think Queenslanders do daylight saving. So you are in the New South Wales. So it'll be half past 11 start for you tomorrow.
That's it, exactly. And no overlap with radio commitments tomorrow either, boys, so I can be here from the outset and looking forward to that immensely. And unlike you lot, I get to sleep in, so the joys of being over here on the eastern seaboard. But as Zane just said, I do have to get my trackside to Carco again somewhere in the near future. For the benefit of those that aren't yet aware, Vaughan, you might want to tell us what we've got look forward to tomorrow, because it's another massive 9 hours of on-track activity here to round out the season.
Yeah, well, a category close to my heart, Formula Ford. These guys have put on some brilliant racing through this season. So we've got some open wheel action. We've got sports cars, sports sedans, WA muscle cars, or TA2s as you guys would know them on the East Coast. We've got saloon cars, HQ Holdens. The list goes on and on. It's going to be a ripper day. Hopefully you can join us again 8:30 tomorrow morning, but don't run away. We've got Hyundai XL Cup just about ready to leave our dummy grid area, and these guys have been another standout category today.
They always are. In fact, green lights are on, ladies and gentlemen, so the clock is counting down as the cars make their way out onto the circuit now. This will be the formation lap. Let's hope that we can get through the formation lap unscathed this time around, unlike what we saw in race 2. One we win so far for, if I can speak properly, it's the end of a very long day. Carlos Ambrosio, one win. Zane Rhodes, another. Can Jack Caiulo or somebody else get up there and make it 3 different winners in as many races? We're about to find out.
Well, as prior to the commencement of today, Carlos Ambrosio was on P1 at 215 points. Jack Caiulo was 182 points, and Zane Rhodes was 171, and we can throw in Brett Sheriff there on 156. So this one is going to go right down to the wire. We won't know until later on this afternoon who is going to take out the West Australian Sporting Car Club Championships here at carco.com.au Raceway. A big field, about 27 Hyundai XLs out there, a very economical way of going racing and a great way, a great fun category. And just having a talk to the Pasaris family, they haven't been racing for 2 years, and Jake's just fitted straight back into his old car, and he's in the top 10 with a motor that's 4 years old.
So a little bit of TLC required to get that car back out on the racetrack and up to pace as well. But terrific to see it out there. Terrific to see Jake out there getting a feel for it once more. And I had, whilst I was off air there a few moments ago, boys, because we had a little bit of a tech issue at my end, I was seeing the radio heads in the commentary box, not the on-track activity. The 112 has come to a stop yet again. That's 2 from 2, unfortunately, for Fisher. And he will be on the tow rope, and let's hope that the circuits recovery crew there at carco.com.au Raceway can get that car to safety without a delayed start procedure being implemented once more, because with only 12 minutes on the clock here for this one plus one lap, that's 3 less minutes to play with than what we had last time round, and it took until about the 9-minute mark to get underway. It looks as though that car's already on the tow rope, and they'll get that round to the short shoot off the exit of turn 5 any tick of the clock. Had Cameron Charnley chime in with me here too, boys, and he said, if you haven't yet picked up on it, mate, the Charnley team has 3 generations on track today. Our biggest issue last time out, of course, was trying to work out exactly where in the greater scheme of things David was pictured, because his transponder had a fault, a tech issue with it. Zane Rhodes and Jack Kiulo, the front row though, Vaughan.
Yes, and then Ambrosio and Sheriff. That'll be a good battle on the second row. Car number 14 with Ambrosio, 21 with Sheriff. The third row is Tristan Moore and Dean Hill making a return. It's been a long time since we've seen Dean Hill at the raceway. I got a feeling it may have even been the Nationals last year. Was the last time we saw car number 53 of Dean Hill's. Behind them, Wagner de Souza, car number 25, and Nathan Seaton. So the last of our cars moving into position. Green flag has just been shown. Who is going to win the drag race to turn number 1? Zane Rhodes or Jack Kiulo? Red lights on, reds are rising here at Carco Raceway, and away we go, and it's a great start from Jack Kiulo in car number 7, and look at Rhodes, he's fighting back, he's going to go side by side, just about fender bending on the way down into turn number 1 for the first time. Zane Rhodes, car number 73, he takes over P1, and look at Ambrosio and Kiulo side by side on the exit of turn number 1 and 2, and Kiulo just in front at the moment, takes over second place from Carlos Ambrosio, then Brett Sheriff and Dean Hill.
And it was fairly ambitious of Brett Sheriff to try and get up there on the outside at turn 1 as well, Vaughan, but he slotted back into 4th spot as they make their way through turn 4 for the first time. Kiulo and Ambrosio following Rhodes down the hill. Hill's got the better of Moore off the start as well. That battle for 56 continuing as it did in the second race earlier today. And 7 minutes and 35 seconds left on the clock here, plus 1 lap, 3 wide on the exit of turn 6 for the first time.
Salvatore Russo in car number 10. Coming under attack now from car 64 of Jake Passaris. But here we are joining the action up the front with Zane Rhodes. Ambrosio now up into second. And that's Brett Sheriff on the inside. Slides right underneath Jack Kiulo. Dean Hill's in there. Tristan Moore, Nathan Seaton. And behind Seaton was Steve McGregor as well. They're coming out. They're 3 and just about 4 wide down the main straight here at Carco Raceway.
Kiulo was trying to get across the cover off Hill, but he wasn't able to do that, boys. Hill goes to 4th.
That he does, yes. These high-end IXLs really proving their worth today of just how close they really are. It's all down to skill of the driver at this level of motorsport, because they're so tight. You can actually see they're all pushing each other up the hill just to try and get that little bit more speed, basically. But yes, Zane Rhodes just ahead of Ambrosio. Actually, Sheriff has now moved into 3rd, and Carvello is still in 4th.
Fast man over the top of the hill this time was car 73 of Zane Rhodes, a 31.13, 3 100s quicker than Ambrosio. So these guys going tit for tat at the moment as they come back over the top of the hill, and it's Zane Rhodes, 3 or 4 car lengths now from Carlos Ambrosio. Then we go back to the blue car, which I believe is Brett Sheriff in car number 21, and then side by side action with Dean Hill and Jack Kiulo. Kiulo skips up and over the ribbon strip on the exit of turn number 7, and he should be able to get in front of Dean Hill, although Tristan Moore is pushing him NASCAR style down into turn number 1. So this is going to be a good battle into turn number 1. Dean Hill hangs on in car number 53. Now can Tristan Moore in 16 drive around Jack Kiulo? Kiulo sticks his car right in front, right on the front nose cone of Tristan Moore, and takes back that 5th position.
And it's invited Nathan Seaton into the fight as well, boys, as well as McGregor in behind in the number 2. So it's a 5-way fight for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th at the moment. It's allowed the 3-time champ to skip, clear and consolidate 3rd. And Ambrosio is closing in on Rhodes, but Rhodes has just punched out the best first sector of the race thus far. It's on like Donkey Kong in the battle for 1st and the battle for 5th at the moment.
Waiting for them to come over. Oh, yes, Ambrosio is closing down on Zane Rhodes big time. Only one car length now as they come down into turn number 7. Hard on the brakes, back from 4th into 3rd gear. And Zane Rhodes rips the car right out wide. He's going to take a big chunk of the ribbon strip on the way out. Tristan Moore throws a desperate one up underneath Seaton. And they're side-by-side panel balancing down the main straight with Nathan Seaton in 95 and Tristan Moore in car 16. Still side-by-side on the entry into turn number 1. And Moore slides underneath Seaton now, trying to get onto the back of Jack Caiulo and pull himself forward.
Who just lost out in the battle with Hill as well, Zane. Go for it, mate.
Yep, sure. You can also see that Seaton, he is going a little bit faster than Moore on that previous lap. He's trying to just get a little bit, all he needs is just to get one tiny little hair in front of him or just alongside of him, and then he'll probably be able to pass him down into the bowl or down into turn 7. But look at this field. We've got 27 cars here today, and every single one of them is involved in a battle pack at the moment. It's unbelievable racing.
And Zach, to answer your question, mate, we are 1.3 seconds away from a track record, so there's no possibility that they're going to pick up that amount of speed in 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining as our leaders again out onto the Carco Raceway main straight. It's still car 73 of Zane Rhodes. He's got 3 car lengths now over car 14. And then we go back a long way, 100 metres now back to Brett Sheriff. Dean Hill still coming under attack from car 7 of Jack Caiulo, who fires it up the inside and gets the nose taken off by Dean Hill in car number 53. That's going to slow Caiulo down. This is the move for Tristan Moore and Nathan Seaton. Can they get onto the back? And not far off them is Steve McGregor in the Napa Autos car.
Zane Rhodes also the fastest lap.
Up the race. Yep.
112.44.
So they're edging closer to Zane Rinaldi's existing track lap record, Vaughan, but they're not going to get there today. You're absolutely spot on with that. It'll be 3 laps to go, boys, at the line, because we get 2 in during time, and then most likely a 3rd after time elapses. Rhodes holding off Ambrosio, 0.4 the margin. Brett Sheriff lonely but comfortable in 3rd. Hill trying to hold on to 4th. Kayulu trying to get back up there. Of course, he slipped out of the top 3 for the first time today. Side by side on the outside. Hill goes defensive on the inside. And Kayalu, he said, look, challenge accepted. I'll try and pass you the long way around and go on the outside. Deep under brakes to turn 7. Have a look at that side by side around on the main straight. Hill's on the inside. Now they've got to worry about Moore and Seaton as well. Hill's going to hold on to Kayulu just.
Yeah, it's side by side as they come down into turn number 1. Dean Hill's going to hang on to that position. Caiulo stuck out wide. This is going to allow Tristan Moore in the PlayStation car to maybe stick his nose in there, and bringing Nathan Seaton along with him as well in car number 95. This is a great battle pack, and look at the difference in the times. A 13.4, a 13.5 and a 13.3 for those 3 cars.
Nothing.
You could throw his blanket over the top 3 right now, or this little battle pack anyway of the top, or this is 4th down to, I believe, 7th, and there's the top 3, all a little bit separated, but then you just look at these guys, absolutely nothing involved in it. There we go, there's, I believe, yeah, Hill, he's trying to desperately fend off. He's only got 1 minute and 20 seconds to go, but unfortunately it looks like, yes, Kaulu is coming through, and he's brought Moore along for the ride as well. Seaton is also sitting just behind him. So, yeah, looks like Moore and Kaulu are through.
Yeah, Kaiulo doing a great job now in car number 7 with Tristan Moore right in the boot lid, and Dean Hill will be kicking himself now. He's lost 2 positions on that previous lap. Nathan Seaton, status quo for car number 95 at the moment, and Wagner de Souza hanging in there for P8 at the moment. Then Steve McGregor and Salvatore Russo in car 10 in P10 at the moment, and just having a look for the Jake Basaris car. He's in 13th at the moment from Charnley in car number 5. Harrison Perez in car number 18 doing a great job in the top 15 out of a 27 car field as our drivers picking up over the top of the hill at the moment. We've got 18 seconds remaining, so last lap board will be shown this time to Zane Rhodes, whose first car over the top of the hill. This beautifully presented Hyundai XL starting to drive away now from Carlos Ambrosio. Carlos has probably done enough to take out the West Australian Sporting Car Cup Championship. No good binning it on the last lap, and he's going to stay where he is in second place. He'll defend second place from Brett Sheriff if he has to, but I don't see Brett Sheriff closing that margin very shortly at all.
You do see a bit of win it or bin it.
Cars just streaming across the line.
Yeah, you do see a little bit of a win it or bin it mentality sometimes in XL racing, but when there's championships on the line, it'll be a conservative approach from Carlos Ambrosio on this final lap, I would imagine. For 1.5 the margin, Zane Rhodes has just bolted clear to wrap this one up. It'll be round honours to Rhodes, but it'll be championship honours to Ambrosio, and that is the bigger picture at the end of the day. Sheriff, a good fight back, hadn't been on the podium yet to this point of round 6 of the championship, but has managed to do enough to get up there ahead of Caiulo, Moore, Hill, Seaton, Souza, McGregor and Charnley, the top 10 at the moment. We'll see if that changes on the way home. Still a lot to play out in that battle for fourth. But young Zane Rhodes, a name to watch. If you're watching from the eastern seaboard, anywhere west of WA, this is a name that you need to write down and take note of and pay attention to going forward, I'm sure. Last turn, check it, flag.
No, last lap, mate. Last lap, Bud. They must have snuck through. Yeah, they must have snuck through before time certainty. So now they're on their last lap, and it's Zane Rhodes by 50 metres over Carlos Ambrosio. Car number 7, Jack Caiulo, a 5-second time penalty, possibly for exceeding track limits. So car number 7 in third position. No, he's not in third. He is in fourth. He's going to suffer a 5-second penalty at the end of this one.
Because the field's so tight, he's going to drop down good amount of positions, because he's going to drop down probably about maybe 10 positions, give or take. Oh, that's wretched luck for Kyle over there. That's just bad luck. But the officials have obviously seen that he was starting to go over the track limits, and the rule must be enforced.
It's a great battle, side by side, up and over the top of the hill. The car 5 of Charnley. There's the Malkin car in there, driven by Harry Douglas this weekend. That also looks like Jake Passaris involved. So there's 4 cars having a great battle, and those guys, they're mucking around down there for 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th. So as we said, and it battles everywhere you look. But here comes your leader and winner of the race. Car 73, Zane Rhodes, takes a well-deserved win from Carlos Ambrosio, and the way he's weaving, I reckon he's worked out. He is the West Australian Sporting Car Club XL Cup champion for 2024. Behind him was Jack Caiulo in 4th position. With that 5-second penalty, he was dropped a fair way down the list. We have Tristan Moore in 5, Dean Hill in 6, Nathan Seaton in 7, Wagner de Souza in 8, Steve McGregor in 9, and rounding out the 10, Salvatore Russo in car number 10. So what a way to finish off XL Cup for 2024. Zane, that was a ripper.
It was a ripper. They're still on in the final corner, actually, down here. That is
where's Ferreira?
Yeah, just going at it for the final corner. David Charnley actually got the fastest lap of the race on lap 4. So, yeah, that was dynamite, as the XLs often are. They just go for it from woe to go.
Now, I don't know
whether
that
is
a bit of a
blip
in our system, but it is showing a race record to Dave Charnley in car number 4 of a 1:11.26. So that is, well, 1/10 of a second under Zane Rinaldi's. I'm going to have to question that one, because he finished in 9th position. And it is showing as a record set on the last lap. So we'll do a little bit of working out, and we'll get to the presentation area very quickly and confirm that one. But that's the way they finish for 2024 as they come past down there in McCracken House and up into the paddock area. Put your hands together for our 27 Hyundai XL Cup drivers. A great exhibition of XL racing as per usual here at carco.com.au Raceway. Raceway. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings to a close day number 1 of the season finale here at Carco Raceway, brought to you by Gallagher. And hopefully you can join us again tomorrow morning, 8:30. We're going to start our qualifying sessions tomorrow morning. Lots of tin tops plus the Formula Fords out there as well. We got Holden HQs, saloon cars, WA sports cars, sports sedans, WA muscle cars, just to name a few of the categories that will be here tomorrow. So hopefully you can clear your schedule. We'll see you at 8:30 tomorrow. A big thank you to all of our officials, our flaggies, our medical people, our fireys, our recovery team, everybody involved in putting on this last race meeting for the season finale, brought to you by Gallagher. We'll see you all at 8:30. On behalf of Zane and Zach, we'll say goodbye to all of us here. Zach, thank you very much, mate, for your contributions today. We will see you again at 8:30 tomorrow morning. And Zane, I reckon we're going to give you a tick for your first day, mate. It was a great effort all day.
Thanks, Vaughn. Thanks, Zach, for joining us. And thank you, everyone who joined us. And I hope you all enjoyed it today.
So as we said, 8:30 kickoff tomorrow for day 2, brought to you by Gallagher. This is the season finale here at carco.com.au Raceway. Please drive carefully. We'll see you in the morning.